do they think the MCU is trying to say that like all black teenage girls are like a monolith and they're all geniuses? Is that
that's what they think.
What their fans think?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking stupid.
If they want a black Iron Man, his name is War Machine. So it is about race.
Well, I mean, we are getting a War Machine movie last I saw, but
I mean the fact that they're making that connection is simply because she's black. So I guess it's not racism, you guys. I guess.
Yeah, so, that's not racism. We already have a black Iron Man.
Let's cast our minds back to 2008 and a little film called Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Was he not striving to be iconic by creating, like, whenever he told Jarvis to paint his shit all cherry red and, you know, gold?
I would say his is even worse than that, Dane. His proclamation of being Iron Man was him taking credit for everything that he had done in a way that was like him wanting the accolades from that. He wasn't doing it because he was selfless. Matter of fact, that's the argument that Captain America makes with him in the Avengers movie. He's not that guy. You remember the birthday party scene from the film where he would have everybody come over and stuff or whatever?
You know, the question I get asked most often is, Tony, how do you go to the bathroom in the suit? Just like that.
Yeah,
all of that is done by someone who is doing it for the luxury of it. Like, he's not doing it because he wants to do the right thing. Matter of fact, his entire reason for becoming Iron Man was self-preservation.
Yep.
It wasn't about doing the greater good for anybody. So this whole argument is dumb. It's just dumb.
I mean, even if you want to say that okay, it is selfish and self-centered to be like, I want to be iconic, I want to look fucking dope and shit with my armor or whatever. Okay, if you want to say that's a negative thing, why does Tony Stark get a chance to redeem himself over the course of 15 years, and to show that he is actually far more than that, or he can become far more than that?
But they don't even know
right out the door. They're like, nope, you're a villain. You're a fucking villain. I wonder why they're calling the black girl a villain.
Right, exactly. But it's not even that. They don't even know the context of the comment. They don't know where it came from. They saw the clip in the trailer, but they have no idea if there's something earlier in the series that sets it up. They don't know if it is alluding to something that was said by another person. They don't know anything. They just know the word that she says in the trailer, and they hate it because they don't want her to be iconic.
They say bad writing, and you're like, okay, what elements of it did you not like? And then they never have an answer. It's like, you can't just say bad writing. You have to expand on that. That's not a critique by itself. That's
all these thought-terminating terms and phrases like, they sacrificing story for wokeness or for agenda or whatever. It's like, what the fuck does that mean, man? How are you weighing this stuff?
Yeah. It's like you like, are there no stories to be told about gay or black or whatever kind of, like, are there no stories to be told about those people?
All stories have to represent like old white men. That's literally the only story. Old white straight men. That's it. They would rather cast the most old decrepit white man in a role before giving anybody else a spot. They're like, just anybody and everybody. Like this whole thing about RDJ coming back as Dr. Doom, right? So they're losing their minds over it, but at the same time they don't know how to tackle it because they've been asking for him to come back for ages.
This is what they want.
So, this is what they wanted. So their struggle is, do we support the MCU and Disney because this is obviously a money grab, or do we go back and act as if we never wanted RDJ back in the first place? It's like that button meme where you don't know which one you're pushing. Like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they do not have consistency, and they oftentimes have gone back on stuff before. I don't know, Birdman, if you've like seen a lot of their reaction to, for example, when the House of the Dragon came out.
Yeah.
I put that in my, I think I put that in my video where like he changed the thumbnail or the title.
Yeah, exactly. Where it's like they'll just do that, and be absolutely
he's talking. You had the critical drinkers. I actually have a graphic I can show you where it's much more like several of these dudes did the exact same thing at the exact same time as far as like changing their takes.
But beforehand being like, oh, this is gonna be woke. The Valerians are gonna be black. They hate white people. And then it comes out and everyone likes it, and then they're like, well,
I also don't understand how being something other than this thing means you hate the other one. I never understand that. Like, because you're showing a gay character, you must hate straight characters. Like, what does that even mean? That doesn't make any fucking sense. I mean,
like when you look at it from the other side, it's you're showing straight characters, that must mean you hate gay characters.
Right? Exactly.
But they'll never accept that logic. They'll never accept that.
No, it's like it completely goes over their head. If you'd ask them that question, it'd be like, what? what does that mean? Or just like when I questioned, I can't remember who it was, but I questioned somebody in the comments a while ago, where they were saying something about how, what was it? I'm trying to think what video it was. Anyway, they were saying something about like having gay relationships or relationships with any characters, like mixed race relationships and things like that. That's some sort of that's pushing things on people. And I'm like, what does that mean when you see two straight white people together, that's pushing that on people? How can you push something on people, especially when it comes to things like sexuality and race? Like, what is that supposed to tell me? That I'm not supposed to have love because I'm a gay person? Like, I'm not allowed to have a relationship if I can't see it in media? I can only have a straight relationship? Is that the indoctrination? They don't want to accept that. They don't want to accept that their argument is that they just want to make anyone else who is marginalized like more invisible than straight white men. That's and straight relationships in general.
They want to keep minorities.
Yeah,
you know, they
do
want
that because they're
men.
scared. They are scared of being treated like minorities. That's why they do that. That's the whole thing. Yeah. There's this white fragility and this white guilt that's so deep inside of them they can't even look in the mirror and accept it. There's this idea of their heterosexuality that gets challenged by seeing queer people in spaces, and they are worried that if there ever comes a time when they share an equal footing with anybody other than white people, than straight white cisgender people, that they may be treated differently, the same way that they treat all of us. And that is...
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. I talked about says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
Words are flowing out like woke Mary Sue, objective truth. They don't mean much, but nothing ever does across the grift of...
All right, you assholes.
You can pick up the softback trade paper.
The what now?
How do you do, fellow kids?
The f***ing what? In movies and stuff like that, and it's like it's no different. I don't know if they all get out of here, Clip. We're done with you. God damn it! Hey, welcome everybody to this show.
Yes, this is live. This is not a clip.
This guy, we're live now.
Yes,
I love.
It always confuses people.
Well,
guys,
sorry,
this is live. This is not a clip. This is not pre-recorded. I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody coming into 2025. Exciting New Year.
I'm starting to think that this Trump administration that's coming in, I think they're gonna be kind of lame. They're not gonna do shit.
I'm thinking they might be a lame duck. Hopefully they don't do extreme executive orders or do get some extreme Supreme Court rulings or anything. But
close down hospitals in their own districts that voted for them. You know,
that'd be terrible.
That would be terrible to rip away healthcare from all the people that
like
voted for them.
Somebody saying, "Oh, are they throwing bodies in the ocean?" Like, what? Come on, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's
I don't know anything about that.
Nonsense. They would never
see that superficially. I don't know anything about it. It could be true, could not be. That's the kind of fucking world we're in right now. Jesus. All right.
It's one of those things where it's almost certainly that, but like we don't know. But yeah.
So I did not finish Ironheart.
I did not either. I have not had a chance.
The Japanese pornography or this show. I didn't finish that. I never finished porno.
I actually have seen the Japanese porno like 5 times in the past 24 hours.
I never can make it. I don't know what's wrong with it.
That is true. I usually stop after a few minutes.
It's always like 1 or 2 spots. I'm just like, I can't go further than that. I don't know.
I have it on an old VHS, and it really gets worn in a couple spots. It's weird.
All right. Oh, Chariot's here. Holy shit. That's awesome. Right, more start.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah, we got the good news, I think, in Discord.
Am I on time?
On our secret,
you're always on time. But
on our secret Discord server.
So.
Oh.
our secret Discord server as ran by Coco Fox. So I'm sure will join us one day.
Yeah, I haven't talked to them in like 2-3 years or something. Whenever
I don't think that they're even on Twitter anymore. I don't think they even post on.
I mean,
how are they running
if you've talked to them at all, that's more than I have. So
our server that's all dedicated to Eric July and taking him down
exclusively, yes.
Oh, those were the days, man. Whenever almost certainly Eric, who was running that Stan account, Rippaverse Goalpost, was so desperate.
Which is dead now. That account doesn't even post anymore. Like,
well, because Rippaverse kind of dead at this point.
I'm gonna check. I don't think they posted in forever. This is a fun little throwback. I haven't looked at this account in a long time. Let me see. Let's see. Rippaverse Goalpost. Where are we at here? May 6th was the last post they made.
Wow.
So
wow.
It's a dead account.
Hope you're doing okay. Because I mean, honestly,
I do.
The reason I'm confident it was Eric or somebody associated with Eric is because that it's an account that like dedicated most hours of every waking day to posting and defending Eric July, and who would do that without being paid, right? Like except for like a very
and they stopped getting paid. That's the thing is that I think what happened is they were getting money, and then because of loss of subscribers, because I think Eric's down to like 491,000 now, so
yikes,
like 28,000 subs lost almost.
Well, do you remember when they stopped posting? Like, what's the last post on the account?
May 9th. So it's been a while. It's been
almost 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean any explanation except for that.
Does Eric July still get Glenn Beck money?
I don't know if he's even a regular anymore.
Let's see if the last time he like did something with Blaze was.
I mean, I imagine. I mean, he is still a useful idiot for them. Let's be honest.
I mean, to be fair, like I haven't even had to talk about him in a couple of months now. I think the last video I made of him was over a month ago, and it was in just connection to Yellow Flash.
Yeah, the last time I actually talked, I think did a video on him was when he essentially said, "I'm not doing main videos anymore." So
looks like he maybe did he appear on this video? He came up. There's when I googled it, it's like a list of Eric July on Blaze Media, like in the articles that comes up, and so there's one from. It's also a video. Of course it is, about anti-ICE protesters and who's responsible for them. They're saying dark money is responsible. Oh, that's fucking good, man. Y'all are fucking good. Holy shit. They finally got around to turning the dark money thing around. That's crazy. But yeah, I guess he's in this video maybe. But
yeah, so he's still, I guess he's doing contributive content.
I mean, what essentially his job with them is to be the black guy that goes on whenever Glenn Beck or whoever decides they need the black guy to tell white people.
Well, the other thing is that he's not even totally
racist to think this. It's fine,
Yeah, he's not even totally on board with them. His opinion doesn't always really align with them, but I think he's the only like person that they can get to come on and talk.
It's kind of like how how that Tenet content wasn't completely on the Putin line either, but it also it works in their favor regardless, right? They don't need it to be their specific narrative. They just need it to not be anything remotely progressive, and it does need to be something that makes people dumber. I think a bunch of thought terminating cliches and things that people don't think through. Anyways, Eric July sucks, and Bob.
I'm just glad I don't even have to talk.
Ideas, so.
I actually think that the clip of Bob and him going back and forth is what kind of killed everything for him, because it got shared like, what was it, almost a year later. Everybody was still sharing it, and I mean, I think everybody that I want to say that Eric felt a certain way about it, but everybody that had been talking about Eric saw that clip, and I guess they just were immediately like, "We're just not going to talk about this guy anymore."
And because of what that's true. That's almost objectively true that was the case, and because of that, I feel like we can extrapolate that Eric was affected by it, whether or not whatever his feelings were about it. He decided, I think, based almost largely on that debate, that he did not need to engage the way that he'd always engaged. Anymore.
Yeah,
because that would be bad
he did maybe 1 or 2 debates after that, but then just folded. He was their debate guy. Yeah,
but yeah, neither one of those really came out of, because I mean, you made God bleed kind of thing.
No.
Once people saw that he he just says shit, right? Like he says stuff really forcefully and talks over you or whatever, and then deflects really well. But Bob wasn't having that shit, so.
Well, it's kind of the old reporter instinct in me, I guess, right? I will push on shit if you're not answering.
God, Bob, praising yourself. Shut up. All right.
I'm sorry. I suck.
Dude, so we need to talk about.
We got our Eric July and stuff for the day. Anybody that wants to come
triggered.
in, anybody that wants to come in and say all we do is talk about Eric, we got it in for the day.
Yes. Okay, we're in.
We're doing you a favor because that one time we definitely had not mentioned him for like 3 hours, and then somebody showed up like, "Oh, you just talked about Eric July all day."
It's like what? Who?
So we should probably, I think, the Ironheart discussion is a meal, I think.
Yes.
So before we get into that, maybe we need to get into this other thing that's not directly media related, but it also is.
It's everything related. Let's be honest.
This goddamn bill, man. This goddamn bill.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it. I'm not gonna say that shit. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That name.
Is there an official name for it? Is it a?
That's the official name.
Oh, the
That's
official
the
name
official
is stupid. Yeah. It's
No, I'm saying like
that.
I thought they called it I think it was called something else originally, and they just kind of ran with this one. Isn't that what happened? It was like a reconciliation bill or something. I can't remember.
I mean, something that obfuscates its actual fucking goal. Yeah.
Hold on.
So it moves to the House after the Senate. I guess they have to. So it's basically going to be different than what was presented originally because that's just how it's going to end up being. But any bit of this passes, it's not good, man.
It's literally called the American Health Care Act bill. That's the actual official name.
Oh God! Oh my God!
What irony! How ironic!
This young man here, he's full of verve, and he's going to calmly explain to us what's going on here.
Joining me.
Young whippersnapper.
Let me be very clear. Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill, now on the floor of the Senate, is one of the most dangerous pieces of legislation ever brought forth in the modern history of our country. It is a gift to the billionaire class while causing massive pain for working families. Actually, I'm wrong. I shouldn't use the word gift because the billionaires paid for it. This bill is an absolute reflection of a corrupt campaign finance system. The billionaires invest hundreds of millions of dollars in candidates and in elections, and in this bill, this piece of legislation, their investment is paying off. So, what are they getting? Well, the top 1% is receiving $975 billion in tax breaks. Further, and this is really quite unbelievable, the wealthiest 0.2% receive a $211 billion estate tax break. $211 billion for the top 0.2%. In that provision, 99.8% of Americans get zero.
And one thing I just want to update, since they're talking about gutting the estate tax, which is something the right wing's been pushing for a while, that we got to gut the estate tax. To summarize the estate tax is a tax on really rich dead dudes, like the perfect group to tax. But they've been willing to gut it because rich people want it gone. So they're paying for propaganda.
Rich people that if you taxed them while they were alive, they wouldn't even notice it. But we couldn't get that far, so we said, okay, how about if they're dead? They're like, no, not even then, even though they won't notice it either. This is capitalism's fucking final move, basically. And it's essentially selling what's left.
I just
democracy to the billionaires. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just want to say, I know someone who's more conservative than me, older gentleman, my parents' age, and I once just because he's he voted for Reagan, so his politics are basically incompatible with mine. Right. He and I had a back and forth, and I sort of, because he's more conservative, I kind of pitched to him the idea of an estate tax. But because this was the era where, the idea of the Affordable Care Act was being called Obamacare, and it was being relabeled as death panels for grandma,
Right.
I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do, because
what a time to be alive.
That look like they will be used as, for death panels actually now. So we can get into that, but
yeah, it was a sort of kind of an appeal to the idea that if you're giving the government more control over your healthcare by having in practice just mostly like more protections, which is the best provision of the ACA is protecting from discrimination against pre-existing conditions. The idea that you're giving the government more power over your healthcare means that they're just going to start killing people. Everything is Stalinism was kind of the principle. But I decided during this argument that I had to be a little sneaky in the way that I sometimes am. So I pitched the idea of an estate tax, but I called it a death tax, which sounds spooky, is a bit spookier. But I explained very clearly, I was like, here's my proposed idea. Everybody keeps everything that they make and own. We don't take anything from anybody until they die, at which point it all goes back into the public good, where it came from. And he got offended and he didn't like it. Wow. And then, of course, later on, I found out that he had he was very supportive of the idea of an estate tax. And I just think it's very interesting that you can, when people hear about this stuff in the media, you can talk them into or out of supporting stuff just by how you label it. And
well,
absolutely,
the infamous example of the Affordable Care Act, right? Like where they would ask conservatives, "What do you think about, the Affordable Care Act?" Or what? And they're like, "Yeah, I'm for it," right? And then what about Obamacare? No, it just betrays everything that's wrong with conservative fucking brain rot. They are so easily led. Everything is about branding. I mean, obviously, you look at Trump; he's just like the perfect human example of this. It's like you look at his actual history in business; it's marked by failure after failure and just like tax loopholes and shit. But everything, like for example, if you look at the construction of any of the buildings that he's had built in his career, almost without exception, they're poorly built buildings that are like nice looking on the facade, right? Like the facade is, but like in night, like. Garish is in like what trashy rich people think is classy, and they fall for that. His fucking voters fall for that. No analysis beyond the superficial. It's really unfortunate that this is where we're at, to say the least.
And if anybody doesn't, I imagine most our fans know the difference, but I know that we have plenty of people who hate watch us, and I'll just fully explain. The Affordable Care Act and Obamacare are the same goddamn thing.
Yeah. And the reason that most people, the conservatives, don't like it, because keep in mind, I'm from Texas. I literally moved from Texas to a different state because of the Affordable Care Act and how basically the way that it got passed, the only way that Obama could even have it happen was that there had to be the options for state to reject the Medicaid expansion that came along with it. So state by state, they were able to decide whether or not to accept that Medicaid expansion. Or was it I forget. Nonetheless, fucking conservative states, almost without exception, obviously rejected it. And so what that does is you've got Obamacare is now in effect, and then people in red states are not seeing any benefit from it. Or very little, if you know what I mean. You have to jump through hoops to even get anything, and then it's almost negligible that they even get any help from it in the first place. So then you've got people saying, well, they passed it, but I don't see any benefit from it. So and then you add on top of that, narratives about fucking death panels and Muslim Sharia law or whatever the fuck. Yeah, and you get a bunch of people that think it's the worst thing ever, and then some people do see some benefit from it. Obviously there's conservatives in states that are not majority conservative, so you end up with people that's why you have to tell them call it Obamacare for those people, so that they just associate it with Obama and don't realize that the benefits they're actually seeing came from that act. But yeah, so this is gonna kick. I think he said we'll let this guy explain it. I think he's going somewhere politically. I don't know.
He's a young whippersnapper. I think he's got
a long road ahead of him. I mean, honestly, it makes me kind of, obviously this is fucking terrible, but like seeing him have to explain this, I'm like, man, this is probably one of the last things this guy's going to do politically, and that sucks. You know what I mean? Yeah. I really wanted to see this dude
They said he was too old to be president in 2016. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
He still fights for us. He's Neo in the Matrix.
He will fucking be, you know, like, it's like he's been fighting so goddamn long, man. It's crazy. And yeah,
I mean, I just love those old protest photos where he was arrested at just the 60s protest and shit. I love that.
I got a shirt of that whenever during the 2020 campaign. I don't know where the hell it ever went, but I had a shirt with the arrest photo of him being he's like fighting the cops as they're trying to.
After 2016, I was confident he had a solid chance in 2020, but then COVID hit and everybody wanted to go for the safe bet.
Then he got rat fucked by the Democratic Party, but that's neither here nor there.
There's that one too. But
further, large corporations in this bill get a $918 billion tax break. That is what the 1% and the wealthy campaign contributors get. So here's what you get, assuming you're not a billionaire. This bill throws over 16 million people off of the health insurance they have by slashing Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act by over $1.1 trillion. So, $1 trillion in tax breaks for the 1%, $1 trillion in cuts in Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act.
Jesus. So literally cutting $1 trillion from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people.
Maybe everybody already can see it, is, you know, but like it's difficult to comprehend how much they must hate people, like the especially or even their own voters, right? Like, you know, they don't realize, I guess, that this is going to affect them too. But like, yeah, they fucking hate people. This is money that these people will almost certainly not even notice, except for it's a fucking value spot in their bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they're gonna get that, and in place of that, literally 50,000 people a year are gonna die, at least.
Hasn't gotten to that part yet, but yes, that is the
that's
yes.
the fucking depth of loathing for fucking just like human life that I can't even fucking process, dude.
Well, you know, it bears pointing out that we are here in America, we are into the 5th now decade of the looting of American democracy.
Yes.
It's been happening since the 80s, where, you know, conservatives just, and I try not to be a hater. I try not to be too hateful, but it's in my heart. It's in my I have an angry soul.
Let it out.
It's just, you know, there's a lot of people out there who get misled by these movements. It's the propaganda. It's not always completely their fault, you know. Like, you grow up and everybody around you maybe is conservative, or, you know, maybe you fall into some rabbit hole and you get like streamlined into some terrible media ecosystem or whatever. But, you know, it's hard not to be angry at the squealing hogs that brought us here. These like hot dog necked like freakazoids who show up to these Trump rallies and cheer for every stupid thing. They really are a lot like Nazis in that they just want to burn some people. As long as he's hurting somebody and they feel like they're getting something out of it, that's good enough for them. You know, and that's what a lot of this shit is. And of course, there's going to be Trump people, you know, former MAGA people, former Republicans, whatever. Current Republicans who are more moderate, they're going to be against stuff like this. They're going to be out there. But they're going to be deviations, because this movement has, for, like, if you're 50 years old, for your entire lifetime, this movement has been just raising taxes on the poorest people, giving tax breaks to the richest people, cutting public programs for the poorest people, refusing to keep wages up and cost of living down, and just exacerbate it. Like, have you noticed everything's so fucking expensive? Everybody complains about it, but nobody talks about how, you know, if you don't raise wages and you don't keep the cost of living stable, and you don't, like, I don't know, not loot like the government, these government programs that kind of keep people buoyed and in a safety net so they're not drowning. Like, do you remember all that like full court press? This happened years ago now. God damn, time moves so fast. But it was about like college debt cancellation, and all these conservative media people came in and they're like, actually, I'm Ben Shapiro here, and actually it wouldn't work because of this and that. Dude, the fact that we can't just, like, grant amnesty to everybody who has been dicked down by this super predator economy of, like, vampire blood-sucking wealthy elites is just so crazy. Like, you can't just give people just a helping hand anymore. Oh my god.
I think it's actually, Dan, you were saying they hate the billionaires receiving this money, and the politicians that vote for it hate everybody else. I don't think it's hate. I think it's worse than hate, but I don't think we ever think of it as worse than hate. They don't even think about who it's hurting. They don't do it to punish people because they don't acknowledge these people actually being people.
Well, I mean, I think you're right, but I also think that old Bob here was right when he said this, where it's way back here. So, like, this is their justification for apathy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you're right. It's just a version of apathy we can't even comprehend. But this is this is what they're taught. You know, this is the cognitive tool that allows them to just fucking write off most people.
And it's so frustrating because the vast majority of people, no, that's not it. And then the people who, like, are on the streets because of some sort of mental deficiency or whatever, they need different type of help than being on the street. Like, there's just so much to just that idea that frustrates me beyond belief.
Sorry, I was laughing there because I saw that chat message.
Yeah. Speaking of what Sherry said a minute ago, I've got this on screen. Had that handy. It's right there, man. Remember the eggs? Remember that? That was what they managed to hook some people, I guess, for enough people to get them into the office to actually win the popular vote for the first time in 25 years, Republicans. So is the eggs, man. Bring those egg prices down. How you guys doing on those eggs right now? You know,
I mean, everything is more expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Like it's not just like a no. You know, I'm looking at the chart here.
Like, eggs are always like a stand-in for whatever, right?
My
like
city just raised, and with all this going on, the city I live in just raised food taxes on things that you buy at restaurants. With everything that's happening, they decided that was the important thing to do, was to raise food taxes, but not actually raise any sort of wages for people. So why are you raising taxes but not raising wages? How does that work? That doesn't make any. The math doesn't math.
The very fact the minimum wage is still $7.25 is a fucking joke.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that capitalism, like, as in, you know, just capitalism in general, but especially this version of capitalism where it's just like, you know, no fucking guardrails, no brakes, like, you know, endless profit, endless growth. It makes people insane. Like, it's literally insanity to think that you can just, like, if your goal is and this is the goal of every business, that every year you need to make more money than you did last year. So you're charging people more money for services and goods. And then they're not making more money for, you know, creating, you know, the value or any of the products or anything. So it's literally insanity, man. And to Morgan's point on the screen right here, we talked about this on the Fapcast before a couple times now. That, but especially there's one episode. I need to go get some clips from that actually at some point. But Morgan did this amazing write up for one of the episodes about how the shrinking category, like the shrinking umbrella of what it means to be American, as far as conservatives are concerned, right? Like, yeah, you may be here. I mean, look, they literally are fucking going after birthright citizenship, which means that not just brown people, MAGA folks, but you too are at risk. You know what I mean? Like, if they decide they don't want you to be an American anymore, you're just not gonna be.
The overwhelming percentage of Americans are birthright citizenship. Like, overwhelming. Like, I am. Most everyone I know, my parents are. Like, come on.
But the changes to this is, I made a short on this, and I talked about this because I did a deep dive into it. Most Americans don't know for sure if their parents were here 100% legal based on paperwork that might be shuffled or lost. So if they really wanted to come after us and we could not prove that our great-great-grandparents, whoever it was that came over, were here illegally, guess what? They can deport you.
Yep.
Well, states can decide, basically going to be able to decide whether or not your birth certificate matters. Like, they essentially are just like dismissing the idea of a birth certificate. So it's.
I mean, all of it makes no sense. This is why it shouldn't even be an issue. The fact that it even got brought up in front of the court about birthright citizenship is crazy to me, considering none of the white people that live in this country were born here.
Well,
like, who determines that? Like, the people that came over, the original people that came over, were not indigenous to this, to where we are. Right, that's what I'm saying.
When we talk about white supremacy, motherfuckers, if you're watching right now and you're like, oh, everybody's racist, white supremacist. Yes, that's exactly what it is right there. There's there couldn't be a more clear-cut example. I mean, other than the slavery and other than the, Chinese internment and other than, stuff like that. But this is just so fucking brazenly, obviously, that's what this fucking country's built on.
So all the white people that came here have now decided that if they don't want to deem you a citizen of this country, they can just ship you out. And I've even seen people like Native Americans who were born, like literally their family has been here well before any white person ever stepped foot in this country, getting racially profiled and being told to go back to their fucking country.
Just imagine if you're at home, you're chilling in your house, right? And some people just show up and they're like, hey, we're coming in. Maybe they're not like immediately hostile, but they're like, hey, we're going to hang out here. Okay, cool. Good. All right. And then they fucking give you a disease. And then, then they start getting violent. And then they, first they say, hey, look, let's make a deal. You let us hang out here for a while. And then they start immediately fucking, just like violating the terms of that deal. And then you're just out on your ass. That's what we did, So that's we're now reaping that, I think. But sadly, we're not going to actually, yeah. I
mean, it's just like I argue really this with a bunch of the idiots in the comment section of the short that I made about this, where like there is an actual slippery slope to questioning birthright citizenship. There's a massive slope, because it starts out with, we just want to make sure people who are here legally, the people that might be from a country adjacent to us or whatever, to the point where we're just getting rid of U.S. citizens, which Trump just said the other day that they're looking into getting rid of citizens.
He said that might be the next job we need to do. He's saying that very intentionally at a certain moment. He's saying that while this budget bullshit is there, he's trying to get that passed because he wants people to consider, if we provide if we do this for them, basically, then all bets are off, motherfucker. It's. And it's all in coordination with the optics of sending the National Guard to LA and shit like that, because he's trying to let us know there's nothing you can do about it.
Because the Supreme Court, even though they said he can't do these things, he's not listening, and the Republicans who have the power to do something to enforce the Supreme Court ruling are not doing anything. So, it is literally a constitutional crisis, and nobody's talking about it. Like, nobody's even talking about it anymore. Like, he was told that you can't do this. So now what are they doing? They're creating a concentration camp in Florida where they can just shove people down there so they don't have to hear the legality of, you're shipping them out of the country illegally. Now we're just going to put them in a concentration camp.
Which is a tactic by fascists, is to intentionally take it a bit too far, so that then whenever you reel it in just a little bit, it's still too far.
But now it's okay. Now it's not legally a problem. Now they can do it.
That part anymore.
Because they're just detaining people until they get their hearing. They're just holding people until they get their hearing. So instead of like shipping them off to El Salvador, now we're just holding them down in Florida, where they can get eaten by alligators. Great. Sounds great.
It's not even that. I mean, obviously, eaten by alligators is hyperbolic, but they're right in the eye of a hurricane there.
Yeah, well, they're already getting flooding. There's videos today. It's already flooding now, and they just had some rain. It wasn't even a hurricane.
And also, Trump has defunded hurricane spotting agencies. And so this is almost like they're basically rounding people up to put them in line with
You can make that argument for sure, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Like, honestly, at a certain point, it may become necessary for, I mean, I don't know what I would do. I haven't really put thought into it, but like what we're doing right now, like saying this stuff publicly, you know what I mean? How long is that going to be okay? Right. I mean, we're pretty small potatoes, but I mean, fascists be petty. You never know. So like you have to consider shit like this because, at a certain point it's really starting to seem like this is going to be like a reality on a daily basis if you go out into the world.
What kind of American are you?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm not shocked about that at all.
And I'm not saying that this is the intentional plan. But if you line up all of these conspiracy theory nutsos who have all these things about the deep state, look at the fact they've built a camp in Florida in 8 days, which is prone to hurricanes. They've defunded hurricane spotting agencies, and they're coming fast.
Sorry.
And what would the fallout be if they were literally assassinating immigrants, as opposed to, oh, tragedy has struck, the camp's been hit by a hurricane?
Ryan, I don't know if anybody else is hearing that. Maybe it's just me. It's just cutting out quite a bit.
You
there.
sound a bit distorted to me. I wasn't sure. My earbuds kind of getting old. I need to get new ones. I wasn't sure if it was just me or if it was everybody.
I always assume it's my own connection.
Yeah.
Also, like Tom Homan or whatever, the Shrek-looking dude, says that people die in custody all the time.
Yeah,
that's what he said, because we had I think a guy from Canada who was being held by ICE died while being held, and he's like, oh, well, people die in custody all the time. People die in jail all the time. So
you see, he says that, and then my response would be like, okay, that all needs fixed, all of it. Nobody should die in custody.
Well, it's just a deflection tactic. People aren't asking him about the state of people in jail dying. They're asking about a specific person. And that's the thing, is they won't answer that question. Reporters are very stupid now. Like, they don't want to push harder when it comes to some of this stuff. Because they're afraid they'll lose access to ask them questions. It's like,
well, heck, lots of times they push a little bit too hard, they get fired anymore.
Yeah.
It's a little
the rise of left-leaning liberal media in the free space, like YouTube and stuff like that, is extremely high. Like, they're bumping out, like, all of the alt-right podcast guys are getting bumped out of the listening charts. Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious that, we're going to have to look at independent media now over some of the bigger,
honestly, we should already be doing that. Like,
we should have been. Yeah, it should have been something that was already happening. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Be critical of anything that anybody says, essentially. I don't care how much you trust them and how much their bias agrees with your bias or anything. By the way, there's no such thing as somebody that's not biased. That's a common thing I see from Chuds, where it's like, you're biased.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I just think my bias is more informed than yours. But yeah, it's,
I will admit I have a fact-based bias. When facts are said, I am biased towards them.
My bias is I don't like policies that kill people.
Right.
Yeah,
maybe that's too edgy to say, but I mean, that's
my bias towards not hurting people all the time is a policy. Maybe?
I don't want to take healthcare away from old people and veterans and children. Like, I don't think that's a controversial.
You Marxist.
Meanwhile,
that's also just such a non-accusation, because like everybody has a bias. It comes free with your perspective and opinions.
Yeah,
but they don't realize that, and I think that ties. I think we talked about this, but that ties into the the problems with content like EFAP, right? Is like
I was just gonna say it's the objectivity thing, because like the only time that it makes sense to accuse somebody of having a bias is if they're pretending they don't. Like if they're acting like, well, actually, here, let me give you the facts without any opinions or feelings.
We turn on my robot brain.
I don't think so. I did.
Well, there's just like this. They've shown that there's no consistency in what they don't believe. This is like this fucked up kind of nihilism where they don't realize they're nihilists. They don't actually believe anything. They just believe in whatever they're being told by a very specific handful of people, with Trump being the primary one.
Well, that's an actual authoritarian precept, that like the truth is what your leader says it is. This is a thing, by the way, just like, because I know I rag on right-wingers, completely rightfully so.
How dare you? Like, that's not what we do around here. Come on.
But I know that there's going to be some people in chat who are less amenable to my politics specifically, so I just want to reach them with this as well, because what I'm saying is, I think, like, definitely 100% true by all our lights, but even if you're more right-leaning or moderate than me, I would just like to say that, like, when you look at stuff like this, just for a counterexample, look at the way that, and maybe you guys aren't as familiar with this, but look at the way Stalinists act. Like, if you've ever had a lot of discourse with Stalinists, I have. And I'm using that term for them. They tend not to use that term. You know, sometimes they call themselves Marxist-Leninists. Sometimes they're MLM. Subsets of them are even like weirder. They're like Dungists or like
There's one
Juchists or
person
whatever.
I bet that you've interacted with, but we'll talk about that later.
I was just gonna say, listen, man, I know like fucking Stalinist and Marxist gets clumped together a lot. They are not the fucking same at all. Like,
well, also like Marxism can be analytical, but like a lot of these other ideologies are like very like prescriptive in terms of
basically
their
if you're
willingness
calling
to use
yourself
political
that,
institutions.
and you're putting that as your identity on your profiles and stuff, I just kind of write you off at this point. Like I think that
it's so interesting. So the reason I bring them up is they do this thing more. We used to call them authcoms or authoritarian socialists or something like that, just to have a more direct term. And that argument got lost actually previously. And you still see, by the way, major left-wingers make like content and posts that get a ton of traction and attention where they say stuff like this. Just to be wary of it, they'll say stuff like, well, if you read On Authority by Engels, you'll realize that actually there's no such thing as authoritarianism. And it's like, yeah, see, this is how they get you. And then you're expelling Jews from the Soviet Union.
We're
and
talking
executing
about
political
right?
dissidents.
Like partly Peter Coffin, yeah.
Oh, fuck, I could listen. Okay, talk to me about that privately.
Sure. Yeah.
That one I can't be. I will just hit me up. But like I was thinking, like you've got more like Second Thought and Hakeem are like Hakeem's actually a kind of a genocide denier, which is crazy. But in at least in terms of like anti-Semitic discrimination, ethnic-based expulsions and stuff like that is genocide. But people who have been unfortunately promoted by streamers like Hassan, who I want to think has a good heart, but like, dude, you got to think a little bit harder about this.
I do think he has a good heart, but he does not think about this shit particularly deeply, and that gets really frustrating. Really.
Yeah, I like that he promotes like labor organizing and union stuff, and
I will definitely celebrate Hassan before Cenk at this moment. So
Jesus Christ,
like I will drop in on a Hassan clip sometimes, and sometimes they're pretty good. Sometimes you know what I mean, but like the number of people that watch this guy, I just don't understand why. I mean, I don't know. It seems like looking at his chat whenever you manage to read it because it goes by so goddamn fast that a lot of people aren't really engaging with on the level that I feel like actually is substantive. There's just more of like a once again just like an aesthetic to Hassan and what he talks about that people are into. But yeah, tankies is really the best word, I think.
That's a good word if you're talking about like people advocating military intervention, because there's a certain type of they have a thing for this too where they play with definitions and they say, well, Lenin said that imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. So that, by the way, by defining all of our nations as socialists, we can't be imperialists. So actually it's fine if we invade other countries. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
Well, I mean, fascism is a particular brand of authoritarianism. So I mean, really, it's not fascism, but it is authoritarian generally. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like even if these concepts, if Marxist-Leninism had no problems, which is far from the case, but if there were no problems historically or tied to these names or these, and yet there was still this century of fucking propaganda about their names essentially, then I would still not like optically. It's just silly to slap a label on yourself. And I'm gonna put things you're not.
You guys hearing that?
Yeah.
I am under the water.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I was like, is it me? Am I
water or what?
Yeah, you
sounded a little.
It sounded like you were like swimming.
It's
like you were swimming away from us. Like you're like in the water
I was
swimming away.
English. No. I'm Cylon. Cool. Well, I mean, they were, in part a kind of allegorical thing for communism, terrorists.
I do want to say, there was a specific point because, like I mentioned earlier, like this plan by conservatives, which this has absolutely been the plan at least for the past like half a century. But this plan to do what's happening now under the Trump administration, or some form of this at least, this battle was lost a while ago, not in an irretrievable way. We're still fighting. Like there's still progress that can be made. There's still resistance that can be done.
True.
But you know, we got that. Things fell this far. I think I can almost feel the moment when I knew that this shit was going to get this bad. And it was when I saw a video on PragerU where Ben Shapiro was doing apologetics for the genocide of indigenous people in America. That was the moment when I was like, oh, these people are just going to kill a lot of brown people, and we're not going to stop them in time. Like, you know, and the only thing that's going to happen is like, how soon do we mobilize? What's the number going to be? Is it going to be like 10? Or is it going to be 10,000? What's it going to be?
I also think a lot of people assume that they weren't this heartless. Like there was still some humanity left in people that were across the aisle from them, because we're talking politics ultimately. So you would assume that the people opposite of you might have different beliefs, but they still hold some sort of like moral center, some form of empathy about people. And I think what's happened is it's been like completely sucked out of that group of people. It either sucked away or, pause on that, sucked away, or they never had it in the first place. You know what I mean?
Over especially the last decade, but I mean, it's been very, very concentrated with social media, but like even before that, they were doing this, but like, it's essentially been this effort to take, generally most people have some base level of empathy that doesn't want them to see harm, even fucking conservatives that are raised conservative and stuff like that. But they, they pound on the fault lines of things that, you don't understand this thing. That means it's bad. You don't need to understand it. And like, they basically take whatever the empathy they have, they chip away at it, turn it into apathy. That's the first part. And then eventually, I think we're to this point now that apathy just kind of gets formed into malice and like ill will. It started with like on social media in particular with, SJW. It's just like, being dismissive of anybody that's actually saying something. Like, I give a shit about this person that's not me. Oh, how dare you? You know what I mean? And then, of course, that turned into woke, which, became, they needed to turn that into something, a specific policy thing. So they made it DEI and CRT. They fucking Chris Rufo's literally on record saying that was his intention, that he wanted people to associate anything progressive with CRT or DEI and whatnot, and associate trans people with the shit that they fucking have lied about. and it worked. It's crazy that it's just like fucking Joseph Smith, being on record for being a fucking con man and then still manages to start a fucking religion. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I actually think
literally
don't believe he was reading that from the hat.
Right. I think there's a combination also of ignorance. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of this stuff, but a lot of people on the right, and it's still in my comments to this day, I have to educate people on stuff like trade deals and immigration. They just don't understand most of it. They don't get it. And like somebody arguing with me about immigration status, about like what ICE is doing and the process of somebody coming here seeking asylum, things like that. They still think that it's criminal. They don't understand these are civil things. Like, you're not a criminal because you overstayed your work visa.
Well, not
you
only
might
that,
be
but
here illegally temporarily, but the process for that is going through the court system. It's not jail time.
That, do it legally. Well, okay. What about the people that were literally going to their scheduled court appointments to, and then ICE showed up and arrested them?
Whenever I ask them that question, they say, "Oh, you're supposed to do this X, Y, Z." I'm like, no, they're doing what they're supposed to do. The people that are going through the court system, the ones that we know where they live, we know who they are, they're showing up for their hearings and stuff. Those are the people doing it legally. They're doing everything they're supposed to do through our process, which is why the due process issue with so many people that were shipped out to El Salvador was such a big deal, because they were not given that same process, because we are lacking in judges. I think there's like over 3 million cases back, like years and years and years back, because we don't have enough judges to do this. And anytime the Democrats try to bring more judges in, they say no, and they shift funding towards apprehension and deportation. So they don't care about them being here legally. They just don't want them here at all. And that's the big thing, is like saying they need to be here legally. No, you don't want that. Stop saying that. That's not what you want. You don't want them here at all. That's the issue. Because anytime they're doing it legally or something as simple as overstaying a work visa, there's a multitude of reasons why that can happen. And it's still a civil case. And that's the thing. People don't understand. You don't lock people up for that stuff. If I go into a restaurant and somebody discriminates me or I accuse them of a discrimination against me, you don't go in and arrest that person. That is a civil case. You take it to court and then you see what happens when you go to court. Neither party gets arrested because it is not a criminal case. A lot of people don't even understand the difference between criminal and civil cases. That is the state of the country we're in. That's why we see people voting the way they're voting. That's why when you other trans people and gay people and marginalized communities, you end up in a situation like this because you train the public to hate them, and therefore you look at them as less than human, and you are willing to overlook human rights violations because you have othered them outside of humanity. That's why we're in the case. That's why we're where we are now.
The cognitive skills that they lack are simply like, I mean, not simply, it's pretty, big deal, but like they don't understand systems. They don't understand how to look at data, how to interpret data. You know what I mean? They just think a data point or a statistic is something to be used as a cudgel, and context be damned. They can't extrapolate information like in a on a timeline to the future. They just what you were just talking about, the othering gay and trans people. No, maybe it doesn't immediately. It's not like the joke punches a gay person in the face or something like that whenever you're making a joke about a gay person, but like they I mean, I assume there's some of them that really do understand what the problem is, but I think a lot of them generally don't realize that this is harmful on a whenever it's becomes a common practice. It creates that's what has done the work of creating apathy and then malice that I was talking about. Like I just real quick. I mean, look, it is complex, but yes, in the beginning of it, at the root of it, they are victims, like we all are. We're all victims of this system. However, as I've talked about before, the old Yeller analogy. You've seen old Yeller, and weirdly, I've gotten way more comfortable talking about this. I used to be like, well, don't take this as like a literal thing, and now I don't care. Take it how you want it. Old Yeller. Seen the movie? Amazing dog gets rabies. Sadly, you got to put him down. You know what I mean? I mean, if a dog comes at you with rabies, do what you got to do. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, essentially, like a lot of these people are victims of brainwashing, and whatever you want, you can say they're victims, absolutely, and they're brainwashed, absolutely. But sometimes you can't be gentle about it. You just gotta dunk the cold water on them. You got to be like, no, you're full of shit. Shut up.
Right.
You can't be gentle.
I want to point out here, this is another statistic that they overlook. 65% of the people who are being picked up by ICE have no criminal record. 65% of them have been here doing nothing illegal, not even jaywalking. They have no criminal record. 93% of the people that have been picked up the ones that do have criminal records are non-violent. So out of the total amount, the ones that do have a criminal record, only 7% of those people have had any sort of situation where there's been a violent crime involved. So that means less than 7% of all the people that ICE are picking up are the people that Trump campaigned against. The rest of them are people that are here working, contributing to our economy, and getting nothing in return. They get none of the social benefits from the federal government. None of them.
Yeah, if you ask me, like, if you have somebody who's here illegally, but like they're not doing any crimes, they're just working every day, all the time, my solution to that is let's get them a citizenship. Let's get this fixed.
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about this on Blue Sky, which is where I channel a lot of my just political rage these days. Seems like what a lot of people are there for. But I make a lot of threads there, and I made one where I was like, I totally blame the media and the education system and government propaganda for this, but there's something really wrong, and I've just seen it in my lifetime. Maybe it's been there for longer, but there's something really wrong with the way that people talk about immigration and the economy, because there is an assumption that the way the economy works is it's like a kitchen. People are there, and each of them has a responsibility and a job or a set thereof, and they're all there to do their stuff, right? But if you put too many cooks in the kitchen, now all of a sudden people are bumping into each other, nobody can get their work done, and there's not enough jobs. And it's, that's how people talk about it. And what they don't talk about is that, like, when you increase a population, you can increase the productivity of your economy. And then that can be good for everybody's wages, which is also, by the way, why these people, like the rich people like Elon Musk, are obsessing over birth rates. But, you know, when people think birth rates, they think white babies. And when they think immigrants, they think foreign brown people. But both of these, one of these things actually puts people into your workforce a lot quicker. And it's, you know, allowing adults to come here safely and legally. So it's just, it's so bizarre that this is where we are. But it like, again, you know, a lot of it is propaganda. I want to give a shout out really briefly here, because I'm working on a lot of stuff for the next few months about video games and stuff like that. And there's a YouTuber who I think we've brought up before, TTBN Gaming, who he did a couple videos about this, and he had a couple community posts where I saw him arguing with people in the comment section, and it was crazy, the denialism, like Eric, you were saying about like needing to educate people, basic literacy on these issues. Because he made, like, TTBN Gaming makes this observation, like, you know, all these Trump tariffs, this was back when that was in the news a ton, you know, all these Trump tariffs, if this goes through and it ends up affecting stuff like video games, you guys are going to be paying a lot more for your stuff, like your gaming consoles and stuff like that. Anything you're getting that's physical that you use for that hobby, you know, you guys complain about it a lot. You know, now games used to be 40, then 50, then 60. Now they're 70 or 80 or $90. People complain about that. Well, how about 500? You know, consoles are like $500 now. What if they were 1,000? You know, like if you're putting tariffs, you're putting like flat amounts on top of whatever you're paying for sometimes. And it's really incredible. I've seen people posting receipts where they're paying for these tariffs. It's crazy. Like, when you have problems like this, it's really nuts. And obviously there's been a whole bunch of debate, and the Trump administration gets criticized for it. And they say, well, we're not going to do this thing we said that we were going to do. You know, by the time that this like stream is ended, they might have made another announcement. It's crazy. Day to day, things are changing. So like everybody ends up misinformed about it. But
Guys,
a bunch of people
audio still fucked up or what? Like, because I've seen a couple of comments now and I have no idea.
It was a little bit earlier, but I don't hear anything now.
Okay, I was about to try and.
But just like as a final point to that, I just want to say that like I saw this dude bless his soul, man, just arguing with these people in the comment section where they're like, well, you don't understand how tariffs work because that's actually not going to happen. It's like, okay, explain to me how you think tariffs work. And they would say stuff like, well, you know, it's when stuff gets brought over here, so like the companies have to pay more. And it's like, okay, I want you to imagine a world, a fantastical universe where this thing called capitalism exists. And it becomes more expensive for companies to produce goods, but they're still intent on selling them to you. What do you think will happen to the price? You know, like, I'm sorry, you're out of your... Do you really think that Microsoft is going to go, wow, we feel so bad for the gamers who are rising up right now that we just have to take the hit on these tariffs?
Yeah, well, we'll take the hit 100%. We'll be selfless. Yeah.
I mean, look, I get
known for that.
I think TTBN Gaming is a really smart guy, and so if he's arguing with these people, I'm sure he's doing it for the benefit of, you know, like the reason that I've done it in the past is like, you know, and at this point I'm beyond who gives a fuck anymore. But like people say, don't argue with these people, blah blah. It's like, well, but what it does is it allows me to formulate arguments and present those to other people that will then have those arguments, you know, in hand, and they'll also see how absurd these people are and that they have nothing. So I found the clip of, you talked about the moment that you realized like, oh, things might be going a really bad direction. This, I think, was a moment that I was like, this is beyond the pale. And if they don't immediately, you know, get rejected for this content, then that's not good. And this was, I think, maybe almost a year ago.
Any solution to our cultural and political problems through the political system, and that perhaps it's time to look to older systems, strongman, monarchy, even dictator.
The right is doing every single fucking thing they've been accusing the left of doing, which is really, they typically just mean like goddamn Democrat. But yeah, that whole conversation the Daily Wire had was like, I remember it gave me fucking chills. I'm like, the fact that they feel like they can have this conversation sitting around sucking on their fucking big brown, you know, cigar dicks Not good. Not a fucking good sign.
Yeah. Well, I just want to be clear. Like, I would never endorse, and I want to say this before we move on to the Ironheart stuff because I think that's really important too. But my last thought on that clip is just, I would never endorse stochastic violence. I would never advocate for it. Like, please do not take this as an abuse of the responsibility of this platform. However, I do also want to say that pretty objectively, a lot of the people who founded modern democracies, who were revolutionaries, who fought for you to have those rights that conservatives are always talking about, like free speech and everything, freedom of religion, the people in that room when Jeremy Boring was talking, and they were talking about the merits of feudalism, they literally killed people like that. Like guys who talked all that good shit and were really wealthy. Like they were killing feudalists. Like, this is not, you can't just be a monarchist in a liberal democracy. That's such a contentious claim. Like it's got blood in it. You know, it's just crazy that
Where is Jeremy Boring now? He left the Daily Wire, right?
Well, he was actually just in charge of their creative, as far as I
remember. But I think he stepped down, didn't he? Oh. He's not there anymore.
Did he?
I didn't know that. I knew he stepped down as the whatever his title was, but he was just supposed to oversee creative. But it seems like what might have been happening was that he had sunk way too much money into that fucking Pendragon Cycle show that he was obsessed with. So that's just what it looked like. But yeah, we are going to move on.
He stepped down.
Yeah,
he's not there anymore.
Wow.
There is some Ironheart stuff. We can summarize real fast. This bill that looks like it's going to get passed is bad. 50,000 people are projected a year to die from it. It's taking $1 trillion from the poorest and giving it to the wealthiest. It's disgusting.
And guess what's bad, guys? The wall. So the $178 billion in spending will go to programs intended to restrict immigration, including resuming the construction of the border wall. Well, because
which is proven to do nothing to stop border crossing.
No, it doesn't stop shit. So you know, they make ladders. You know, that's what ladders are for. Let's see.
Oh, I do want to point out very briefly. Somebody sent this to me. YouTube is cracking down on unoriginal content with a major monetization change. Channels that do not meaningfully transform clips will lose monetization.
Wow.
So that's like compilation pages and clip channels.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay. So just real quick, as far as the numbers go, 178 billion to anti-immigration shit, 153 billion spent on defense, as in shipbuilding, missile defense, nuclear weapons, and supporting military assistance of the border. Cool. Military operating inside the boundaries of the country is always a good thing. It's not. And then and then cutting back on programs incentivizing electric vehicles, clean energy, stuff like that. So we're also going to choke to death while fascism's killing us.
That's and then, we only have a few years left anyway. So
and then tax cuts to 4.5 trillion for individuals and businesses, which include Trump's pledges to stop.
And look, everybody in the chat who's saying shit, like there's a few negative people in the chat or whatever.
Yeah, don't delete these good comments. By the way, I want to address them later on in the show. So.
Okay. I think it's funny because it doesn't matter what we say, you're going to fuck around and find out. Like, that's the thing. Like, you might not like hearing us say it because it's just like when a parent tells you that something is bad and you're like, no, it's fine. I can go out and light firecrackers and never let go of them. My hand will be fine, right? Like, you can keep saying that, pretending that's not the reality. But the fuck around and find out has already started affecting people. Like, it's already started with prices and things.
I mean, look,
everything that we've said,
we've literally already addressed this, but it doesn't matter. You know,
it doesn't matter.
First of all, there's some a little bit of maybe some anti-Semitic.
Real quick, Hunter, do you know the difference yourself? See, what happens is very quickly. I'll make this very quick. Legal immigration is asylum seeking and work visas. Illegal immigration is crossing the border without going through those processes. But you know what happens when you do that? That criminal case gets vetted by the border agencies. They look at your background history. They find out, are you a bad person? Are you a good person? If you're a bad person, they just send you back over. If you're a good person, they say, hey, we're going to let you stay here and work, and then we're going to give you an immigration hearing, a civil case, to find out if you can contribute to the country and be here without causing trouble. Therefore, the crime goes away. Anybody that crosses the border illegally that is a criminal is put back over the border. That's the way that works. But there's a backlog of judges that have not heard these cases, which is why so many people are waiting around for those hearings. But that doesn't matter because they're going and picking people up from the hearings before they even do it legally.
Yeah,
So
all
that's
of which
the fun part.
you either said or implied directly earlier. So this guy's just lying. But like, you know, I just want to point out, even on top of all of that, also like taking people. If you come to a country and you break the law there, you might get jailed. You know, you might go to prison. You should get a trial. That's supposed to be like a thing that we do, that we care about. And also, like, you know, without trial, like taking people and putting them in a foreign prison, which is a thing our government's been trying to do. You know, that was kind of a thing that Thomas Jefferson objected to in a little thing called the Declaration of Independence. You scumbag! Like, damn, dog.
Like, I just want to say
this is actually a good question right here.
Yeah.
White people commit the most crimes.
Right. Do you think the smaller portion of people coming into this country, sneaking through the cracks in Trump's wall, are producing the largest amount of crime? Are you kidding me?
The reason there's no point in engaging with this, by the way, is because if facts and data mattered to him, then he wouldn't be saying this shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is just ridiculous.
Found.
Well, let's actually do the list though. Like you said, white people commit the most crime overall. Immigrants commit less crime, not only overall but per capita, because if they're here illegally, they don't want to be committing crime.
Exactly.
Almost like
only that,
mind their P's and Q's because they respect the fact that they have a benefit here over where they were.
Crimes have been decreasing since the 90s, so crime is actually on the way down, although fear of crime is on the way up because it's over-reported. So if you don't believe that these are facts, then look them up. Go and look them up.
Hold on. This is the problem right here, buddy. Are you just watching the news to get
Who
facts?
watches the news for information on stuff like this?
You're
Who
watching
does
the
that?
news, and that's what you think we're doing too, because that's all you understand.
I don't think I've ever even mentioned CNN one time in any source that I've ever cited for information.
It's always brought up.
You're fucking, you're fucking Cheeto Mussolini, fucking his FBI page as of right now, anyway. Maybe not for long, but the statistics, as I'm looking right now, they're still there. You can go look it up, buddy.
Go look. I mean, this is literally on. Like, you can go to the government sites and get this information. Like, it's right there. Like I said earlier, 65% of the people that are being picked up have no criminal record, and the ones that do, 93% of them are non-violent. So I don't know why we're even having this discussion. Like, honestly, I don't even know.
Yeah, let's move on. But I just want, good.
There is something we very much need to talk about, guys. So, like, there is a character of piece of media out there right now, and this character is objectively a villain. And the creators behind this character are trying to talk about this character as if, like, she's a hero now. And it's like, no, this character's a fucking villain, and we need to call out this bullshit.
A criminal cannot become a better person. Everybody knows that.
Yes. I am, of course, talking about Megan 2. Just came out. This is objectively, she was a serial killer, and now she's a superhero? What bullshit? Who? This is what the internet's talking about right now, right? This is what's
does she kill?
Over. Not really in the new one. No, she's just a hero in the new one.
Oh, I was gonna say old villains do that.
Have you ever heard of Oceans?
You did
fucking
in the first
retard?
one.
I'm sorry. I'm done. Oh my god. Yeah. Also, look, if you're a criminal, you can't. There's no arc you can go on that makes you a better person. Period. Just doesn't happen.
I mean, has anybody looked into his heritage? Because that don't look like an American name to me.
Yeah. Ooh. He must be here illegally because they commit the most crime. So it has to be someone who crossed the border, right?
Okay, why don't they? I'm sorry, that dude was like, why don't they ever go to the fucking United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia?
Just swim on over there, like just put on your swim cap and go ahead, go for it.
All right, that's too much.
Yeah. So obviously, the topic isn't Megan 2. It's IRONHEART. Although the way they talk about IRONHEART, they might as well be talking about Megan 2. Would make a lot more fucking sense. A lot of things they're saying.
Yeah, and because of the caucasity of this panel, I have a clip here that I'd like to show.
Okay,
that's okay.
Clips in. Yeah, I want to take a look at what Neurotic had to say because I'm sorry, as I love to call him, Methrotic.
Methrotic.
Methrotic. Let's go.
Now, credit where credit is due, a show that clearly knows it's one and done, doesn't waste any time, and alienates the audience right off the bat, because this is how it starts.
Here we go, okay. Just to let you know, your girl finna be bigger than Johns. Right. Bigger than Gates. Right. Bigger than Pim. Right. Bigger than Stark. Yeah. Combined.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, they've got some good commentary. This, by the way, this is a Nerds of Culture podcast. I think it's Thursdays, or I forget which day they do it, but it's on Blurred Without Pierce channel. Great channel. You should subscribe
awesome,
to it.
by the way.
But, like, they're to a point, Chud content is to a point where it's both, they are becoming more mask off in some cases. Like, Gary has really kind of just, I don't know.
He's given up now. It's just straight up.
But at the same time, that right
racism
there, he doesn't really expound on it too much, as far as I've seen in the clip that they show.
It's two black girls having fun and recording videos for like Instagram.
Like, you're supposed to, if you don't, you basically have to be programmed already to understand what he's suggesting just by showing that.
I mean, they're trying to act like her being a bit cocky in the beginning is somehow a moral failing, because Tony Stark was very humble. He's not even humble at the end of his arc. Come on,
he's not humble ever. Like,
yeah.
Sorry, I've only seen a little Doctor Who. This is the 9th one that after they brought the series back, he was the new one.
Yes, this is famously the first one to have a same-sex kiss.
And this scene, I seem to recall this scene where he says that. Isn't that Rose's mom is flirting with him or something?
I believe so. It's been a
So
while.
that feels like a weird clip to juxtapose with like two younger women, as frankly, Gary, you're an older man now. You have to understand that you're a little creepy when you make some of these comments about women. Like, chill out.
Because I've seen that clip for full context, it gets much worse from there, obviously. But because the people they listed, obviously you got Jobs and Gates from the real world and Stark and Pym from the Marvel universe, he doesn't object to criticism of Gates because of COVID. I mean, the dude has got a serious hang-up about COVID, apparently ruining his life.
Which actually, that caused his channel to grow.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
if it wasn't for COVID, he would still be like getting 5,000 views a video.
He is obsessed
because
with
he was being.
You got to think about it from Gary's perspective. He spent 4 years in prison. He tried to start a comic book company in like the early 2000s. He was terrible. He made like 2 issues and it failed. Like, he's had nothing but just failure throughout his life. And here he is. He's got a channel that started to grow, and then COVID hits, and he's killing. Right. But then it starts to go, and it's like he's desperate to get that back, because that was the only win he ever had in fucking life.
His channel was small. It was not particularly growing back when he was being genuine and actually pleasant and nice about media, and then he got on the grift, and everything's been up from there. So he should be praising COVID, but he's still got a hang up about it because it's meant that he's had to get a job instead of relying on his wife's hairdressing business.
Well, also, here's a hot take. He has enough money to open a small comic book shop now if he wants to. Like, if he really wanted to be a comic book shop, he could have.
He doesn't, because he knows that the issues with comic book shops is that it has nothing to do with the content within comic books. He's very well aware, based on the we have an interview from Wired where they interviewed various comic shop owners back in, I think, 2009 or something, and he was part of that, and he's talking very reasonably about the changing demographics and stuff like that. He understands exactly. This is why we know he's a fucking grifter.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the point I'm making, is that he acts like they took something away from him, but if he really wanted that back, he could just do it. Like, he has enough money to do it if he really wanted to.
Oh yeah, I mean, that he would be taking a major pay cut though. The grift.
Well, he wouldn't even have to run it. He literally could just buy the shop and hire employees and call it the Nerdrotic Comic Shop, and that's it. You know what I mean?
At the core of the matter is, psychologically, he's fueled by vengeance. He has to maintain that sense of revenge against all the people that wronged him during COVID.
He'd be a hypocrite if he did that comic shop and filled it up with anything but anti-woke comics.
Well, he could fill it up with
that thing
Rippa
would
comics.
Bomb.
Right, he could fill it up with Rippaverse comics or Comicsgate comics if he wanted. Like, whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody that's not aware, this is Gary before the grift.
Okay, because I really dislike the fake geek thing and the poser nerd thing. That's not what we're about. We're about inclusiveness, and we want new people in. And if new people, spout off and make mistakes, hey, don't we all?
I was looking for that clip. I wasn't finding it.
Fuck you. Yeah. I mean, where did they go with this, though? Is there more to this clip here?
Yeah, just real quick. Yes,
yeah.
that is Robo Strange. He was my co-host on. Left Face TV is actually what was originally the Beta Boys podcast channel that we did for a while. Yeah.
The only thing your girl finna be is as big of a failure as the Marvels. But to
So, okay, I want to address what he just said.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Look, I want to address that because, okay, this is how you know the Meth Roddick and his like. They don't understand storytelling. Because Heels versus
True.
Babyface had the exact same problem.
True.
Here's the thing. You said alienate. Okay, so here, let's address the core of the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
And here, let's go back. I want to run him back because I want to make sure that we are not taking Meth Roddick out of context.
No, he knows what he means. He said it. He said it straight up.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. But I want to give him a chance. I want to give him a chance for clarity's sake.
doesn't waste any time and alienates the audience right off the bat because this is how it starts.
So here's the thing. I'm going to leave his...
The audience.
Is anybody else get creeped out if you look at Gary's eyes for longer than 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something going on that's genuinely upsetting. I don't know.
It's probably the withered husk of his soul that died when he started doing this content.
Yeah.
This is the audience, like
the audience.
The audience, she said she wants to be better than white men.
Yeah, she's finna. She's finna.
So yeah, that's all I had there. But you can go watch that stream on Blurred's channel, which is linked below.
We need to have them on again soon. He hasn't been on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't think there's even any point in addressing the argument because, I mean, this is a guy who would have been railing against the Beatles when they said they were bigger than Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's ultimately what it is. The situation is these two young girls are bragging about how brilliant and successful they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Which, oh, wow, hubris from teenagers?
Right.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, I mean, remember how they were with hubris with She-Hulk, right? In the first episode of that, she expressed something with a little bit too cocky there, and they fucking lost their minds. And
Fundamentally, I think it comes down to the fact that they just don't want other people to have access to their thing.
Absolutely.
So it's like if you go into a restaurant, I always use the Burger King example because I'm always hungry, even though I'm drinking Wendy's right now. But I always use the Burger King example. A lot of people love Burger King, but Burger King has a lot of stuff on their menu, and you don't have to buy everything on the menu, but the next person should be able to buy something that you don't want. So why would you care about that? So there's this gatekeeping thing like, yeah, maybe Ironheart isn't for you, Nerd Roddick. Maybe it's not a show that you're going to watch. That's fine, but you're not the target audience for that show. Even though you like Marvel, clearly the show has got a specific age demographic that it's going for, and you're outside of that bubble. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. It doesn't mean they're alienating the audience. And the fact that you have to tell your viewers, some of them who probably are in that target demographic, they shouldn't watch it because you don't like it, because you feel offended by it, is super creepily gatekeepy. It's really weird.
Well, I mean, to be clear, Gary doesn't feel fucking anything. I don't think he gives a shit. It's just a grift to him at this point. But you're right. He is activating that within his audience for sure.
I think this is kind of mean, but could you guys imagine a guy like that as a husband and a father being he has a nice lunch with his wife and he goes, "Oh, sorry, honey, I'm late. I have to go into my doll room and scream about black people for the allotted hour."
I have something about that. It's not directly related to Ironheart, but we can look at it real quick because it's fun. So I was looking for, just Gary stuff on Reddit and whatnot today, and found this post from a year ago. Of course, all of this shit is always under and saltier than Crate. The subreddit, the one with a K, not the other one that sucks. So yeah, he did a studio tour in 2021, and this is the wide shot of his room. and like people started really looking at the details of what he had in it. So I think he's moved. He has moved since then. So the room he's in is a different room, but he still kind of tried to keep the same aesthetic. Like there's so much shit that is apparently duplicates, triplicates, and then like, you know, he's got like 5 different TARDISes.
So it's merch from his shop that he didn't sell. Is that what this is?
What it seems like, yeah. But I mean, you know, then you got Rags and Mauler plushies there. But I mean, like, this is just, that's what it looks like. It's just merch. This is not a collection of something that people went out and bought. Maybe some of the older action figures or stuff he had when he was a kid that he pulled out of a box when he started doing this. That's always been my sense anyway. But
I'm imagining him diving into it like Scrooge McDuck.
Wait a minute. Does he have is that a Ben Reilly Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Why is he? That's not Peter though, right? So shouldn't that be gone? Shouldn't that be off the shelf?
Oh no, it's fine. He's white. It's fine.
Just don't call it Spider-Man.
Ben Reilly is Ben Reilly, right? It's not Spider-Man.
I can't believe he has a plushie of the N-word dog. That's crazy.
What? Wait, what? Oh, the N-word.
Yeah.
Sorry, I did not understand what you meant by that at first, but yeah, he has.
Well, let's address the core of all of these guys' issues, which is they really want to say the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That is fundamental to all of their beings. Is they just really want to say it in public as well.
In public, yeah. like they probably say it to each other privately, but they want to say it in public.
Yep.
But
I mean,
I was going to say as well. I'm sure we're all old enough to remember sort of pre-Marvel, really pre-decent comic book movies, when the nerd community, the comic book community, was very like Gary's attitude now. How you have to keep the normies out because they'll spoil things. We get to laugh at this group that don't know anything about comics, and so it's our little club. And the moment you let them in, they're going to want to know stuff. It's there's that gatekeeping in all of these sort of niche hobby communities that he's never got over. Now, I personally always thought that I would rather more people liked it than not, because you get more of it. We get more of it now than we ever did, and that's good. Not all of it is good, but you don't have to pay any attention to that.
Here's a hot take. Sorry, go ahead.
Good.
I was just going to say, to contribute to the overall lack of media analysis these guys do, look at their proclaimed love of Blazing Saddles, simply because it says the N-word a lot.
Right.
Ignoring the context that the only people who say the N-word in that are idiots, racist, and most of them villains.
It's meant to point out that they shouldn't be saying it. That's the whole point.
Yes.
To that point. Yes. To that point.
Black nerd girl on Twitter. Yeah, she was there. I got to see her. She didn't say hi to me. It was weird.
That's strange. I'm sure if I was there, she would have said hi to me. You know, she may not know, but I am officially a member of the club.
Oh yeah, me too.
So we're balling here. We got the chains. We got N-word passes. You know, it's all good.
Well, we talk about hip hop one time,
do the
you know,
chains
and all of
have
a
to
sudden,
do with
and
the
YouTube
N-word
tried to
pass?
take us down, didn't they?
We're in the club.
I mean, they probably saw those cards at like a fucking Hot Topic or
Oh,
something.
for sure. But this just, thinking about what they just said, this kind of proves, I made a statement about how they take black characters on their thumbnails and kind of like hood them up, as they say in their comments and stuff. The fact that they see a big, thick chain as something that a black person would do is crazy. Like, it's almost like it's like racism from 30 years ago. It's not even like a modern racism. It's like old school racism.
Yeah, that's like that's turn of the century Fox News racism. Well, I did not know about the Ryan Kinnell Flavor Flav drip. That's crazy.
Eric, remember we looked at their audience that time. You remember what the makeup of it generally was. So they're doing that. They're speaking to their audience, which is a lot of old people.
Yeah, but I wanted to point out something quickly though. Like, the idea of gatekeeping from these guys, and it just kind of hit my head when we were looking through his room full of unsold merchandise. Typically, I believe anyone I've ever met in my life that wants to gatekeep people are the people that don't actually know as much as someone else. And so they feel threatened that person could come in and be very enthusiastic and start to love this stuff even more than they do and know more than they do. And then they would no longer be the expert on that.
Absolutely. It's totally like going back to the clip of from Ironheart. If you really just think about it, it betrays their fucking deep insecurity and feelings of inadequacy. So
because they're getting to a point where these characters are characters they don't know a lot about.
This is a fiction. These are fictional characters that aren't. They haven't actually become bigger than Bill Gates or anything like that. They're fictional characters. But even if they weren't, I mean, they're just saying they want to. It's just teenage girls saying, "Oh, we want to be famous," and do, like, and they're fucking.
But doesn't that go against their narrative too? That's the thing. This is why it's so frustrating. Their narrative is that all of these characters that Marvel puts out are these tokenized criminal characters, and then you have two of them, two black girls who live in conditions that make it harder for them to be successful, saying, I aspire to be bigger than some of the most successful people in the world, and that's a problem for them.
So that's why I named this stream Chuds Go Out of Their Way to Expose and Debunk Themselves, because they expose their own, like, it's really clear when you think about it. Like, they're both, I've seen several of them now, both say what you like, oh, she's a criminal, blah blah blah. Never mind the fact that Gary, was literally a criminal as well.
And half the characters in the MCU have been criminals at one point or another.
Never mind the fact that Tony Stark was a weapons dealer.
But that was legal, though. Legal, which is the same thing as moral. Anyway, Az clip really pissed me off. His fucking, I don't know, he could say the exact same thing as Gary, and something about Az saying it really makes me want to fucking.
Well, they keep pushing this lie that she stole the armor. That's a lie. Right. She didn't steal the armor. They say it in the fucking dialogue that the armor was raised money that she raised.
In fact, one of my criticisms is I thought that exposition was really fucking clunky the way they did it. But
it was.
It's there. It's obvious.
It's obviously there, so you know that when she takes the suit, they're not going to come after her. That's the whole point of that line. That's the whole point of the AI going away, but the suit's still being hers. Because the AI was owned by MIT, the suit is owned by Riri. So she has the suit, but she can't run it because she has no AI. If they wanted the suit, they could have came and got it. It was basically inoperable at her house. She wasn't hiding out. She was at home with her family.
That's the whole point of the Natalie character.
Yeah, and she's flying around in the suit. They're not coming after her because they don't own it. It's not theirs. But they keep perpetrating that as like, she's a criminal. Oh, she did some stuff at school, like with exams and things that she cheated on. Like every fucking person has ever done in their life has tried to do something in school that's not absolutely 100% right. But then she gets expelled for it, meaning that she pays the price for doing something wrong. So there's literally a circumstances, and she gets in trouble for doing what she did, which is something they keep asking for. And she's not a Mary Sue. She's not given things on a silver platter. These are all things they wanted.
Is she a stereotypical criminal, or whatever, or is she a Mary Sue? Is she a thief or is she a genius? Because they complain about both things.
Right. Oh, she could have just gone to Wakanda, but if she did that, you would have said that she's just getting everything handed to her. That's the point. Like, there's no world where this character, this black character, this woman, this young black woman can exist where they will not have a complaint about it. They have a complaint already established for anything she could possibly do. There's no goalposts that they could have done in this show that would have made these guys happy. If she would have gotten everything from Wakanda, all the tech from Wakanda, Shuri would have helped her, Tony Stark AI would have been there, they would have claimed she's a Mary Sue and she didn't work for anything that she has. But when she does work for everything she has and she has to do it in a way that works for her character in the story, then she's a criminal, she's a thief, she's making all the worst decisions. There is no goalpost for them that works. This is why in my videos I've said it's all racist rhetoric.
I mean, one of the points they always like to talk about how she doesn't earn anything, and one of my points was, hey, I'll wait. Hold on.
I just want to point out the goddamn fucking the dog whistles are crazy on that thumbnail. Sorry.
Oh yeah, but yeah, most famously, Tony Stark earned billions of dollars and massive genius by
being born.
You
could say the same about Thor as well. What did Thor actually earn?
Yeah.
The reason he got kicked out of Asgard was because he was a dick.
Yes.
And he had started a war.
I mean, even honestly, even Steve Rogers, like, what did he do besides just be a good dude and tiny? You know?
Steve Rogers is one of the few exceptions, but like most
he earned
superheroes
it.
have
He
this
almost
dark.
immediately he earned it, but like still, like it's not like he was just
Well, so
and you know
Tony
who else is
Stark,
an exception, real quick,
right?
Sam fucking Wilson.
Yeah. So Tony Stark in canon has killed at least 90 humans and over 3,000 otherworldly beings or alien species. That doesn't even count the deaths that he caused by selling arms to like all these different countries.
Well,
who else
illegal aliens,
kills?
those aliens be killed. So
You know who else kills a lot? Steve Rogers and Thor.
True.
True. Yep.
Star-Lord kills his father.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, this goes back to the goddamn
Thor kills Thanos. True.
It goes back to Wanda, right? Like in the fucking discussion Bob and I had with what's their names? Those idiots. Can't remember it right now off the top of my head. You know, those guys. But talking about how like Wanda she's so evil because of what she did in the WandaVision show, when it's like, well, that's what you want to call evil. I think it's more of an expression of a mental health crisis that she was in, considering the trauma that Tony Stark caused with his fucking bombs. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
you're talking about Madam and Bitch?
Yeah, Madam and Bitch. That's it. So like, so the Tony Stark spent 15 years redeeming himself after all the shit. Look, I mean, even in the MCU, he created fucking Murderbot that dropped a country from the fucking sky and killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, he sure, he felt bad about it. He did take it down in the end and stuff. But it's okay, but like we never called him a villain for that. We never fucking called him evil. But
she, even in this, she's not a thief. At the point in time of this video, she hadn't actually stolen anything.
This is just a lie. The
murderer?
lie.
Who did she murder? That was like, so she fought with one of the guys that was trying to kill her, and then
the armor saved her, but not
right.
him.
But that makes her a murderer because she was trying to save her. So she's supposed to let him kill her. Just lay there, let me kill her.
But
trash.
Is Derek Chauvin a murderer or not? I just want to, in context of this, sorry. The fucking
criminal is so laughable because literally we've just pointed out how almost everybody in the MCU at one point or a time has been branded a criminal. Like the entire Steve Rogers arc with the Sokovia Accords branded him a criminal. He was on the run.
Technically a criminal than he did not, when you think about it.
Yeah. So well, I mean, one of those scenes has a. Sorry, Bob, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say.
Go ahead and finish your point because mine's going to lead up to my short. So.
Oh hell yeah. One of the scenes these guys obsess over is the one where the character leaves Riri, right? That's the name. I haven't seen the show yet. I'm not really invested, but the suit rescues her.
Yes.
And she leaves the other, like the antagonist to die, right? Is the implication.
Who was trying to kill her, but she doesn't.
But calling that
not doing
murder
it on purpose either. Yeah,
saying that she killed there is like saying that if you through inaction allow someone to die, you're like a murderer, and that paints like Age of Ultron in a pretty dark light for the Avengers.
Absolutely, yes. It also brings into question John Walker's act that they keep trying to glaze over with the shield.
Yeah, that's okay, but like what
he was
does is bad.
So, this is a great point. Batman Begins. Literally, the final thing that happens in the conflict with Ra's al Ghul is, I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you, and that's kind of his hero moment in that movie.
Right.
And what she does is not nearly that specific. Like that's Batman purposely leaving him. Yeah.
Now I've seen the whole show. I don't want to spoil it, but I do have to jump out of here before you get going, Bob. So I just want to say this quickly before I head out, though. The decisions that she makes in the show, all the things they complained about, make total sense when we get to the finale. It all makes total sense because of a big reveal in the finale. So if you're watching the show and you haven't seen the end, everything will start to add up and all of the light bulbs will go off in your head and you'll go, okay, this makes sense. This is why all of these morally ambiguous things were happening over the course of the series leading up to the finale without spoiling what's happening. So it will make sense. And it's got one of the best finales of any Marvel TV show.
Oh, nice.
Are you telling me that we should judge stories also by like where they go and how they end?
Which is yes, and I've said that before. They're judging a TV show without the full picture. Like that's the thing they do.
That's not part of the art of the character. If it's something that happens later,
it's the same thing they did with She-Hulk, right? Isn't this the same thing they did with She-Hulk? They complained about She-Hulk and ignored a character arc. Like you guys tried to, I think you and Bob both tried to nail that down. Like this is part of the character's journey from where they start to where they end.
Character arc in the She-Hulk show. He said that's not part of her character arc. What the fuck are you talking about? But yeah.
Anyway, but I do have to run. So thanks everybody for coming out on my stream and everybody who's here in the other streams. Play nice. We got 50 people over on my stream watching. So do not make them mute you for the day.
Yeah, guys, everybody make sure to like and subscribe to all the channels. We got obviously we got Actual Fandom here. We got Eric's Debunks, Eric's Reloaded. I'm Organized Chaos. We got Nothing But Media. We got Chariot. If you are not subscribed to all of those, shame on you. Go subscribe. Shame on.
All right. With that being said, it was great hanging out. I got to go play music for drunk people.
Later, man.
So
Have fun.
Oh hell yeah.
Have a good night.
So I have an example here that to support what we're just talking about. This is from a while back, but I don't know how we missed it, but it's a good one. That Nerdrotic in particular just lies. He just lies. Watch this shit.
Runner who was asked what her favorite Star Wars was and couldn't answer the question.
So when people are like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I'm like, there is no Star Wars movie. There is only Star Wars.
It's not like, okay, I was expecting the clip for her to be like caught off guard by the question and be like,
So even if just playing it, just taking it on what the Gary showed, it's kind of still not how they characterized it whenever it happened. He's still like weird characterized it the way that they were doing it. But
yeah, no, it just comes off like she's saying I love Star Wars. That's what it comes off as.
Wait until YMS goes back. It goes and finds the original clip and then goes and back a little bit further than what Gary shows.
I don't know, all of them or something like that. That seemed like a pretty rehearsed answer. Like that seems like a thing that she believes at the very least. It's not like Trump when asked what his favorite Bible verse was, right? There's no reason to look at that clip and just immediately discredit her response there. If somebody asks me what my favorite Kill Bill movie is, I say I like them both as a single story. That's my genuine answer. It doesn't mean I don't know or I haven't seen them, right? I don't know.
Everybody knows.
I was expecting the clip to be a lot worse. Again, we're in the territory of like you see what they use to justify a belief next to their belief, and it doesn't quite align. It's reaching. It's very very interesting.
So when people are like, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? I'm like, there is no Star Wars movie. There is only Star Wars.
If she stumbled for a bit in that clip, let's look up the clip. Let's see if there's anything more to that clip.
Tell me, what kind of Star Wars fan are you?
I am the type of Star Wars fan that doesn't even have a favorite movie. I just want.
She wasn't even asked what her favorite. That wasn't even the question. She said, "This is why we look it up." I'm like, I was almost expecting to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give you that one. That's what I like. The way that they frame things is so dishonest.
It's just a lie because the narrative was that when asked what her favorite Star Wars movie is, this was her answer. And the question kind of changes the whole thing, really. I mean, still, it was a fine answer nonetheless. If that's what he had asked, that's a perfectly acceptable answer, and it's something I might say. But because if I'm going to watch a Star Wars movie, I'm generally going to at least watch one of the trilogies within a day or two of each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but that's not even. What kind of Star Wars fan are you? And she took that and ran with it, and that was her answer. And I don't know, fucking liars, man.
But going back to the earlier point brings up my short because Gary actually accuses of, at least in the first 2 episodes, he accused her of killing 2 people, and I'm like, what 2 people are we talking about? Yeah.
How it works, and she plans to do it during the Agents of Antifa's final caper, which of course goes sideways.
Agents of Antifa? Is that what he said?
Yes.
Wow.
Extorting Hunter Mason, an evil rich.
Agents of Antifa. Yeah, but you're not playing to a MAGA audience, right? Right? Yeah.
Guy who just wants to grow food. The Hood conveniently stands still while monologuing so Riri Williams can cut off a piece of his cape. She accidentally sets off an alarm and doesn't lift a finger while the Hood kills Hunter Mason. And then
she was in no position to do anything when that was going on. She couldn't even see him. He just vanished, and suddenly this dude's being lifted up and killed. And she just like she's on like the bottom level and she sees it, but like she can't fucking do anything. Like it happens fairly quickly too. Like what do you expect her to do? She wasn't in her suit. She was just down there for. Yeah, and the other thing to also add is that like she doesn't have superpowers, and clearly that Hood is giving him some sort of superpowers to easily just pick up somebody and kill him the way he does.
But apply this level of scrutiny to like her being responsible for that death. Okay, like sure you can say she was involved in the timeline of events that led to him dying, absolutely. But then once again, I'm just gonna say but Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd, right? I'm just saying, I'm just asking because they say he didn't. right? That it was some kind of heart thing or whatever. It's like, so he was involved. All right, just making sure.
Well, even in fictional examples, how many times have we seen the hero be unable to save somebody even though they're standing like right next to them? Because it would have involved them being killed as well. It's ridiculous. It's such
Far be it for me to speak for Black people and their experience, but I have heard many times that, you know, that you basically have to come out of the gate perfect in order to, you know, and you're still going to get scrutinized way more than a white guy's going to in any, you know, whatever the example is, a job role or whatever. And yeah.
I believe them when they say that because I see it happen, especially diving into this type of fucking media. They're doing this, and the white guys get a pass. It's like, yeah.
Hey, do you guys remember when people like this were waxing poetic in response to The Last Jedi about how Disney is killing our heroes because of Luke Skywalker getting like his tarnished in terms of his characterization?
Right.
Luke literally has this happen to him in A New Hope. At Biggs Darklighter dies and he's unable to like save him, you know, like I just, if you're taking this approach to things where it's like a really powerful bad guy kills someone in front of you and you don't say that, wow, you're a bad person. It's like, big dog, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
So, I mean, in that case, Peter Parker killed Uncle Ben, or at least
yeah.
I mean, he's directly in the series of events that led to it. So he's responsible.
I mean, obviously, Luke Skywalker killed Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, true. Yep. So I don't know, but
yeah,
Anakin's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
Don't call him a villain.
Blaming her for that death was ridiculous, and then I don't have Hippoclipped ready, but like he has the best example for the other one that gets thrown out.
So this
probably more than this one.
This sets me up really well because I have a couple of clips of let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Cool. So yeah, sorry, I think we just got a Hippoclipped drop. I'm gonna have to pull that up in a minute, but. Oh yeah, so I was just watching some clips of this guy the other day, and this is a perfect example of how their racism comes out when they're just, you know, analyzing what happens in fictional media, like we were just talking about, the whole, you know, scrutinizing a black girl way harder than they do anybody else, basically in the same kind of context. So there's something weird about, I mean, obviously it's racism. It fucking warps your brain. It makes you fucking stupid. But where's it at? Here we go. Make sure that my shit is muted so there's no echo. All right.
Somebody, I think the artist did a pinup with all the black characters, and somebody leaked it and said, that's the cover. McDuffie's going to turn the Justice League all black. He's getting rid of the white guys, you know. Never a plan, never even considered, but it freaked people out, so they're reading the stuff looking for proof. But there is a hardcore piece of the audience whose back goes up whenever you go into these issues, and they don't even realize it. You know, and what kills me about it is when they're writing about it, they're always hyper-rational. You know, look, the fact is there are more white characters, and if you picked randomly, you would end up with all white teams. And the fact that there are 3 black people on this team is statistically ridiculous. I mean, it's obviously a quota. And the quota arguments on fictional teams crack me up. Because who's actually, I'm sorry, is somebody losing a job here? Which fictional character is losing a job? There's no connection. You know, they're not talking about what's going on in the comic books. They're talking about what they think is going on in their lives, and that's not really going on either.
R.I.P. Dwayne McDuffie, man.
Yeah.
Way too young.
Yes.
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, obviously this was pre-Comicsgate that he was talking about this. So I mean, obviously, like I've been accused before of saying that, you know, like Comicsgate introduced, you know, basically toxicity to fandom. No, toxicity was always in fandom. Comicsgate, these Phantom Menace guys, what they did was they monetized it, and they keep monetizing it. So anyway,
and to be the cards on the table here, there are criticisms to make about Ironheart. It's not perfect. Personally, for me, I think it's probably about a 7 out of 10, which is on the lower end for me with Marvel stuff. But none of their complaints are legitimate, because none of them cover the problems that I had as a white old man watching the show. Because my issues were, I think the pacing in the first episode was awful.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the first episode. I think it's clunky and wonky. But once it gets to the main story, I think it gets way more interesting.
Yeah,
and also
I feel like
there's that. I don't engage at all with the character of Xavier. It seems like he's important, but like I do not care.
Yeah, and I think it probably could have done with another couple of episodes to flesh out all of the characters, or none of them, if you know what I mean. Like, I think the gang is semi-fleshed out, but not enough. Like, we get some characterization, but not a lot. And I think
Slug is
that's a bit
okay, but the
uneven.
rest of the gang, forgettable.
Yeah, yeah. And I also personally, and I'm not going to give any spoilers here, but I really didn't like the very ending. I thought that could have been done in a cleverer way, rather than just making it a sort of to be continued. I felt it was a bit too obvious. The story's going to continue, but other than that, it was a solid show. The character arc for Riri, as I said, other than the final was brilliant. I loved the introduction of the characters in, I think, the 4th episode. The shop, I thought those characters were brilliantly introduced, and I wasn't expecting it. And it's just enjoyable for these guys to describe it as the worst thing Marvel's ever done, which is how they describe every show. And
have they
describe
not
it
seen the
as,
final episode of Secret Invasion?
well, they and this is something to look out for. They describe everything as a disaster. It's like, how many
Yes,
disasters
true.
can you possibly have? It's not a disaster at all. And yeah, the worst thing ever, until the next thing they decide they want to go against is the worst thing ever. And eventually everything is the worst thing ever. And if everything is the worst thing ever, then nothing is the worst thing forever.
True.
But yeah, the complaints are just so tired and overwrought. And also, finally, I think all of them say that their audience should definitely not watch this show. So I think we can all agree that there's no way they're going to cover the last 3 parts, because they've already told everybody not to watch it.
Well, the only reason they would cover it is if they're like doing this just for money and just pushing outrage for money. But their fans tell me they're genuine. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't.
But yeah, it's just, and I'm tired of it. I really am tired of these same
It is exhausting.
miserable
Well, and
complaints.
here's the thing too. I want to add this, that us talking about this. So like, I can't stress enough how much Gary, in particular, the main guys, they don't give a single fuck about this media. They do not have any emotional investment, any kind of, like, they maybe did at one point. Now it is just, it's the same thing as this is the spatula they use to flip burgers as like an comparing it to working at a burger restaurant or whatever. It's just a tool that they use, right?
Yeah.
And
the only thing they care about this media is how they can exploit it for outrage, and that is it.
And in fact, us talking about this and spending this much time on it it's actually unfortunate and frustrating, because what we're trying to reach the people that they've fucking poisoned, or at least filter, some people that might fall into that content. But the main thing is that they're doing this to distract from the first thing that we talked about today. That's what they've, one of the, other than radicalizing people to the fucking far right, the other purpose of it is to distract people's brains, so that, how we talked about how they don't have any information about whatever's going on politically. Part of that is because they're filling their brains with this garbage. And then they go over,
it's a distraction because their fans are going to be hit by these real world political issues. And I think they're too stupid to realize that if their fans have got less money, and if their fans are dying off or are deported or are made sick by this or poorer by it, they will lose money. They're too stupid to realize that.
Hey, look, it's Tony Beers. What's up, Tony? Hey, man.
Oh, look, it's Beta Beagle. What's up?
Quick, put up a picture of a black person to scare him off.
That does it every time.
Even better,
or a woman. Or a woman.
He definitely doesn't want people looking at him. But yeah.
Dude, we can't put nightmare fuel like that up.
True.
Let's be clear here. We're outraged about racists, which I think is a good thing to be outraged about. I think it's
Outraged
good to be
can be a good
outraged
thing,
about.
it's sincere, just sorry, I interrupted you, Ryan. My bad.
No, I was just outrage. Yeah, like you said, outrage is good if it's directed at people doing harm to others. What harm did Ironheart do to anybody that they should get so outraged by it? And they were. I mean, Critical Drinker in his review actually sounded genuinely angry that they dared suggest that Riri was as intelligent as Tony Stark, but without his money. Genuinely. When the claims they made in Wakanda Forever.
But they're not emotionally invested on the level of like caring what happens to Marvel.
Oh no, it's performative outrage, absolutely, as well. But one of the complaints that they made about Wakanda Forever and Riri's character is how was she able to build her initial prototype Iron Man suit or armored suit without Tony's resources? That was their initial complaint. Now they're saying that there's no way she could do it because she's not as clever as Tony. So I mean, it just doesn't jive. They're all over the place.
I mean, the geniuses in the MCU already. We got like what Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, Peter Parker, Shuri. Although I don't want to talk about her, she's not a white guy. But like, there's plenty of geniuses in the MCU. Why like what is there like a quota for a maximum amount? Like it's such a weird argument. It's like just watch the story and see if the story works for you and talk about the fucking story. But of course that requires actually like embracing media and actually going into it with an open mind and assessing it honestly. And we know none of these guys are prepared to do that. Anyways, EFAP did a 20-hour stream on it. We just listened to that.
Jesus Christ. Did they really? No, not 20 hours, right?
No, but it wouldn't fucking surprise me.
I mean, yeah, the fact that
you know
I
what's
was
disturbing?
sure
The
if he
fact
was
that I could
joking.
say something that outrageous and you'd be like, oh shit, they actually did.
So, we try to make the case here on basically every weekend and a lot of our videos independent of this stream that these guys are grifters, right? It would really be easy if like one of them, like I've always said this, the only way to know for sure if someone like 100% confidence that they were grifting is if maybe they had admit it or something. You know what I mean? Like, so if one of them just like one day decided, you know what, I'm just going to cards on the table. I used to be a grifter. That would be great. I would love that.
Well, there's no clips of that though.
In fact, we have that. That happened.
Oh, what?
But first, I finally found this. I'm going to show this here. Alpha Eagle. There he is.
Jesus Christ, you can't jump scare me like that.
Fuck out of here, Tony Beers. All right. And by the way, no, wait. Sketchy said, is he here to pay his dude? He's not even monetized, I don't think. Fuck,
I think it's interesting to be so sensitive and thin-skinned that you would take umbrage with the term outrage, just because like it's such a byproduct of the internet tendency to really contest the idea that you got mad. Nobody's mad. I'm not mad. Please don't put in the paper that I got mad. I mean, all right, man. I think we all know that we're all humans here. Like the need to deny it is what's a little bit telling, like that's being sensitive. That's being a snowflake. Come on.
I mean, that goes back to what I was saying about how they chipped away at people's basic empathy, right? Like, so being outraged about someone, being harmed or even just talked about in a shitty way. Most people don't want to be talked about, like judged because of some broad characteristic or whatever, but they think it's okay. Anyway, so fuck these guys. We need a true hero to emerge who says, no, I'm here now to disclose that I was once a grifter, and now I'm going to grift by criticizing grifters.
Ordering. Everybody's talking about this clip here, and we tried to watch this yesterday, but he's hard to watch for me. Do you guys enjoy the quartering? Like, you watch his show?
Oh, yeah, love him. Shit.
Do you watch this guy? I'll bring your knitting. It keeps you awake. All right, so here he is. Let's see.
The other big good piece of feedback is that, Jeremy, you're not.
Why does he, like, you guys said that I sounded out of breath. I was eating when I was making that video. I like the way I sounded.
Sorry. I used to say that Ethan sounds like he's always laying on his back drinking gravy when he
He does kind of have like porch guy energy, you know?
Porch guy. Oh, anyways.
The quartering seems out of breath just sitting here, and looks like he has worms or something, like he's squirming around in his chair. I see these YouTubers squirming around in their chairs all the time, like just fucking. I just did that, gave myself a wedgie, just squirming around in their seats. And I wonder, like, what goes on back there? Like, you have worms? Like, what is that? Like, why do Eric?
Ethan's wondering what goes on back there behind, in the quartering's ass, essentially.
Oh, we know.
I will happily say I don't wonder. I don't
It's
care.
part of the law. This is. We know what happens with the quartering. Didn't he shit himself in some bathroom of a supermarket?
Was that him? Did he do it? I know that he
That was
pissed
quartering,
in the drain in his basement, but
No, apparently he tells a story about like having to go in a Walmart and then not quite making it, and he literally tells the story. He's like, "Do you really want that out there? That is a hell of a story to put out there."
I mean, if you want a poster boy,
trusted a fart that we shouldn't have trusted, right? But who's going to talk about it on the stream?
I mean, if you want the poster boy for white privilege, it's Jeremy the Quartering, the laziest man in the world, pumping out low quality content 5-6 times a day.
Yes, and over 1 million subs.
Content, and literally letting Nazi book publishers advertise on his videos. As a Turf Nation, I broke that story.
I was gonna say, like, that's why Jeremy squirms so much, is because he's doing that thing. You remember the guy who got caught cheating in a chess tournament because he had like the little vibrator up his butt, and the guy was like telling him which piece to move. By,
I didn't know
sending him a signal. That's what he's doing, but it's David Duke telling him when he's doing a good job on stream.
I mean, it seems like the last time I saw something from the quartering, he at least had his camera pointed in the middle of his face, not whatever this is, where he's bouncing off the top of the screen.
Maybe he's got a standing desk and he's doing that for his his circulation or something. If so, then
maybe it's a normal desk and he's got really short legs.
Sure.
Maybe he's got one of those little treadmills under his desk and he's just doing a bit of cardio.
Hey, maybe he's on his knees.
I mean, it is objectively hilarious that Ethan is here like, oh, he sounds weird and he sounds like he's having a hard time breathing and stuff. It's like,
no, it's one of those things where I just grab the popcorn. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I does that all the time too. Like, he can't just sit still. Drugs? Is it drugs? Let's watch a little more of this. See what he's talking about. Are you guys interested in what he's talking about?
Not providing enough in-depth, enough additional value in your videos. And
look, see,
you know what? Fair point. I think the market has shifted and it's no longer okay just to have to, just to read an article. And
it was never really okay, Jeremy. Like it was,
No.
I mean, it was like legal, I guess. Technically, it wasn't against terms of service, but it was always really lazy and shitty.
Give my whoa, that's crazy. I need to be better. And to avoid having my wife sell her feet pictures.
He's on the verge of a heart attack. He's going to have a heart attack soon. I can tell by his behavior. And he's about as heavy as I am.
He's like, I can tell we can smell our own.
Just to be fair. But I'm not huffing and puffing the way that he is. Like he is on the verge of I can tell just the way he's talking, his behavior.
It's gonna get there in a minute, guys. I promise. The moment that I set up earlier.
His heart rate is way up. He has a rash, even. Does he have a rash? All right, I don't know. Let's see.
I have hired a researcher full-time. Her job is to help me formulate these videos to add more information to them.
Can you imagine? Like, he's coasted by on doing nothing for but just reading articles and shit and articles, from particular sources, in fact. And then I think he did have a website for a little while that got shut down, which apparently was just pushing, of course, white supremacist narratives on there. But and then you get to a point where you're like, oh, fine, I guess I'll have to do some research. I'll hire someone to do that for me.
Oh, I've seen the full clip of this as well. I think it was. I'm trying to remember who covered it. I get so confused, but someone covered this video, and in the first part of it, he's talking about how he did have 10 people on his staff just to produce these videos.
Jesus Christ!
And
wow,
he fired
garbage content.
He fired 7 of them. He kept on the 3 people that said, "No, Jeremy, don't do it. We'll work for free," and then hired a researcher.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the one where he mentions it, but he's got a it might not be in this clip, but it's in this video. He's got Melanie Mack working for him.
Yeah, they do a show together apparently.
Yep, because I guess I think they pushed a little bit too far on being openly, white supremacists too often, so they just kind of got accurately slapped with that label. Whereas like Gary and stuff, they still try to maneuver a little bit here and there to pretend like they have some other criticism that is clearly really just racism.
Thing is, though, he's got that show with Melanie Mack, and he missed a trick by not calling it BJ and the Bear. And I'm not going to say which is which.
Okay. I'm going to think about that joke later.
To teach something rather than to read an article and react.
I mean, all this guy's been doing for and it's worked for him up to this point. It's not hard to make this kind of content. I mean, this kind of content this is yellow flash content where, everybody you're in these like groups, you're in these like knitting circle groups, sewing circle, where, people go, look at this. And they're giving each other articles for the day. And then everybody reads the articles and goes, woke trash. This is fucking trash. That's woke. Woke trash. So this is what that's all it is. Now, I used to read the articles. I'd go on. I'd have my news sites up for Star Wars or Marvel Comics, DC Comics. I'd have my articles up. And with Star Wars, I would try to make a narrative. Like I would read all these articles and then I would say, see, this is what I think is happening at Lucasfilm. And I would create a narrative. And I don't know if I was correct or not. I was just taking a guess based on my experience at DC Comics and the way these companies work. And I didn't need a researcher. I was just trying to be entertaining.
For fully process what he's saying here, he's admitting that he built his channel on, ostensibly it was supposed to be an art channel where he would draw, and he would do that sometimes. But while he was drawing, he used to draw. I don't know if he does anymore. He would just say, bullshit. He says it's based off of his experience at DC Comics, except I've literally got videos from way back when I used to cover him that he, was just mischaracterizing things that happen and whatnot in the industry. It's a bold move to just be like, I fucking was just talking out of my ass and I made a lot of money doing that for a long time. Sorry.
And the comics industry is not the film industry either, so the two overlap very insignificantly. So to create a narrative around Star Wars, but I mean that's all they do. I mean this is literally outrage content. What he was doing and what Quartering does 5 times a day.
Oh yeah,
outrage content.
Ethan Van Sciver was like, and this was all I knew about him for a while. Like when I was making those videos about The Last Jedi, I touched briefly on that stream that he did where he bought all those Rose Tico figures and he like cut them up with scissors, just dismembering them. And genuinely one of the most unhinged things that I've ever watched as like research for a video.
His most seen content was that, but I have actually a clip from around that time that goes to support. It's from the give vibes of what he was doing back then, but also, how we talked about this, I think last week or one of the streams I did about how they deny that review bombing happens whenever it happens. They're like, oh no, nobody's review bomb, it's just bad. Whatever. It's like, okay, but how did they know it was that bad whenever the show hadn't come out yet, dipshit?
Yes.
And whenever like there's so many 1-star reviews and there's just like none in between that and like 4 and 5. But nonetheless, we've shown, I looked at have a screen recording from under one of Gary's tweets from the Acolyte where everybody under it is just like, yeah, let's get that down to a 1 or whatever, talking about the Rotten Tomatoes percentage. So it's clear they fucking do that. But I mean, once again, we have Ethan, I guess maybe, I don't know. He got too excited back in the day about The Last Jedi, and he kind of.
Thanks. All right, everyone. Yeah, you know they know. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm Ethan Van Skyver, 26-year veteran of the comic book industry, world's
This is for the Rise of Skywalker.
most charming, elegant, eloquent, yet humble man. Great big Star Wars fan, trusted member of the media. Oh no, everyone, it's a Rotten Tomacalypse. Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is where everyone is converging right now to express some anger, angst, at the current rot going on in Hollywood, the current SJW scheme. These SJWs think they're so clever. They think they can hide. They think they can pull one over on the American people, on the world. They can't. They can't do it. They can't pull one over on the Chinese, that's for sure. You should see the reviews of The Last Jedi. They're hilarious. They also can't pull one over on us. We are here. The Fandom Menace is monitoring these weirdos. We see what's up. Of course, Rotten Tomatoes got very scared. They got very tipsy last week. A week ago, they took down that Wanna See score because Captain Marvel had been driven down to 27%. Imagine that. 27%.
It's bizarre that he's both admitting that they fucking review bombed it and then also acting like that says something about the quality of the movie or whatever, right? It's
because a movie that did end up making over $1 billion, so people did want to go see it. But then Gary does it the same in his Ironheart review, where he talks about how the trailer was ratioed. And again, I've said it before, that's a tell that he is a liar, because he knows what the statistics are for downvotes, and he knows they're wrong compared with the add-on. So he knows he's lying to his audience. And just to sort of narrativize Ironheart's journey on Rotten Tomatoes, before it was released, it had 38% amongst audience reviews before it came out, before anyone saw it. So proof it was review bombed. When it was released, it went up to 70 before these guys got their videos out. Now they've got their videos out, it's down to 53%. And some of the people in the comments are parroting almost verbatim what these guys say in their videos. I mean, literally, one of the first negative reviews I saw was, she steals the suit. Another one I saw references Tony Stark building his suit in a cave with scraps, which is something all of them have had in their videos. So to say this is legitimately how the audience feels, and not a small portion of the fan base who has nothing better to do with their time than complain about TV shows on Rotten Tomatoes, which most people don't look at. And yes,
I mean, that's also how like review sites often work when it comes to like just like public review scores that anybody can leave. Because if you look at like public listings for restaurants and stuff, it's like 90% Karen shit anyway. So it's just people who have the free time and the expendable income overlapping. And I don't know, it's like I've made this point before, and I think we all kind of have, that it's just like what a dumb thing to like build your identity around. Like, oh, we're the people who make Rotten Tomatoes more correct. Huh?
Well, I mean, it's not just Rotten Tomatoes, because I brought this up, and this is it right here. So these are 2 IMDb reviews for Ironheart, left by different people, and they say the same thing verbatim. The same fucking thing. Yeah,
sorry guys,
it's gaslighting bullshit. And
what is this?
You know, somebody in like a Discord server was like, "Hey, we should all copy paste this. That'd be really funny."
Yes.
These are 2 different reviews for Ironheart, left by 2 different people on IMDb that are
You say they're
verbatim
different,
the same thing.
but I don't see how they're different. You know?
The username is different.
Oh, okay.
And
Fair
one
enough.
of them's a 1 out of 10, and the other one's a 2 out of 10.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Totally legit then. And one of them has a spoiler warning, the other one doesn't. Okay, I see.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that content of the reviews verbatim the same thing.
Coincidence.
Yeah.
Look, just because people criticize it the exact same way verbatim doesn't mean that there's anything dishonest going on.
Sure. People, two distinct separate people have been known to write the exact same the review about something before. That is definitely a thing that happens regularly and genuinely.
I've just had a look, because obviously these things are, there's 16,000 1-star reviews for Ironheart on IMDb, but overall it gets a 3.8. Critical Drinker's Rogue Elements is only at a 4.3, so it's only 0.5 better than the worst thing Marvel has ever made.
Hugh
According to Critical
Birdman's
Drinker.
laughing. What does he do?
It is the laughing sound effect, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that he literally puts that every single fucking time he mentions Neurotic, he's going to drop. I mean, Critical Drinker, and that's amazing. I love it.
So yeah, even though we can pretty much say for certainty that Critical Drinker's film wasn't review bombed because it wasn't viewed to be reviewed, it's still only 0.5 better than Ironheart, which is quite a feat.
Definitely review bombed.
I did have one little quick little clip here of Ethan. One more that
I was about to say, do we want to finish the Ethan stuff? Because there is a line that we haven't gotten to yet.
But
let's keep exhausting the bank accounts of a small demographic of loyal pay pigs over and over again.
Okay.
I was making all of these people into characters. Like everybody was a character. Pablo Hidalgo. What a great name. He's a character. He's just fun. Roundhead Ryan Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy. You know, the cast of Soylo.
I mean, like, honestly, I don't know if literally all of them do that specifically, but I would not be surprised if they kind of look at it in a similar way where they're just, you know, I mean, obviously Griggs admitted to, we just make a narrative out of it. Thanks, Ethan, you know, thanks giving us another one. But I did want to respond to somebody saying, is this his redemption arc? No. No. I mean, for one thing,
if it is, he's got a long way to go.
The harm that he's put out in the world with this content would have to, if he's going to ever redeem himself based on that, first and foremost, that content needs to go. Just not being visible, not making money on it for sure, needs to go. That's the fucking start, and that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
this is a pivot because he realizes that the anti-fan grifter stuff is collapsing, and so this is his pivot.
He's very smart. He's a smart fucking guy, and he has this charisma about him that I guess that some people are drawn to, and like he's better at it than a lot of these guys, just in terms of like natural charisma, right? Like, who would you rather listen to talk about something if you had to listen to either him or fucking Critical Drinker, right?
I mean, just this comparison here between EVS and fucking Jeremy Hambley. I mean, shit, EVS is way more charisma.
It's easy to be on his side whenever it's these two guys on screen, right? Or whenever it's him and versus Eric Fry. It's like, well, you know, they're both, I know because I've proven over and over again, both of them have lied a lot. But at the same time, Eric seems to lie a lot more and like needlessly in a lot of cases, where he's just like trying to cover up his lack of knowledge or something, whereas, you know, Ethan tends to be more strategic about it. And that's exactly what this is him, like Ryan said, recognizing that the grift is not what it was. It's not paying out like it used to. So he figures, well, what do I have that I can offer? Like same thing, the same pivot he did with whenever he got it didn't get renewed at DC. It's like, what do I have? I have my name, I have my ability to draw, and then I have, and what's the name of his channel? Comic Pro Artist Secrets Revealed. So he felt like, I can say that I have secrets about the industry that I'm offering to people, and that's going to seem like, you know, that's going to give me an edge in this fucking market of emerging grifters on YouTube.
They're all trying to pivot at the moment. Critical Drinker tried to pivot into being a movie maker. He sucked at that, so he thought he'd have another go. But he's probably going to suck at that a second time. But he's still got his audience to fall back on for his lazy content. Yellow Flash tried to pivot into comics. That's failed pretty much.
Counterpoint.
Woo! Bad faith criticism.
Are you a talentless YouTuber pretending to be an expert?
Do you have a tantrum when you're criticized for being totally full of shit?
Then the excuse you need is bad faith criticism.
I'm not gonna lie, I do think the fluff they put on Eric July's shoulders is hilarious.
It's great. Yeah, the toughness is. We gave him an award for that early on in the initiative. I'm proud of that.
I mean, even poor Jeremy here is trying to pivot away from making lazy, low quality content.
Right.
So
you know, it's bad if it's making him do something, like he's having to put an amount of effort in. And that means like, oh, I have to pay somebody to do the effort for me, but still writing those checks or whatever, man, that's got to take it out of them.
That's a lot of work. That's exhausting right there. Shit.
There's a thing that happens sometimes in law and policing where you'll have like a great number of people who are committing the same crime in different extents.
Yeah.
And what will happen is they won't throw the book at all of them, but they will sometimes like pick people out.
Sure.
And like just absolutely hit them and ruin individuals. This happens a lot with like slumlords and in cities and stuff like that. Like I know New York has done this a few times where like what's the guy's name? Jared, the Trump's son-in-law.
Right. His dad, right?
Yeah, his family are like they're like that. They're like shitty property owners that rent out a ton of properties. But you know, like people like that are never the ones that get hit. But if you're kind of a standout, if you're like, you know, you're somebody who owns like one building, you might eventually get fucked over. And it's because you're not quite as safe, and because, you know, people will become periodically aware of how bad what's happening is, and they'll all be like, man, we got a Jared Kushner. Yeah, I couldn't remember Kushner for some reason. I wanted to call him Jared Fogle.
In the universe.
I was like, that's not the right guy.
No.
But yeah, it's funny because like that's sort of what we're probably going to see happen. I mean, it depends on the way things go, but if the political environment online continues to turn against right-wing content creators, that kind of thing will start happening with these guys. We're like, you know, it'll probably be something like EFAP or Friday Night Tights will pick somebody in their orbit and they'll just shit all over them and tear them apart, and there'll be a few streams back and forth like that, because there will be a sense, and they might not say it out loud, but there'll be an implicit sense that we need a human sacrifice. We need a grifter to shove into the grift volcano so that we can appease the gods of the community, so that they know that we're sacrificing somebody, and then they can, you know, go back and it's, you know, whatever, 6 more months of making like shitty, like media, quote unquote, criticism.
They also need to trim the field because there's too much competition there. There's no way that, I mean, there's not just them and all the friends that they've made along the way. There's also all of their fans who've started their own shitty YouTube channels complaining about the grift. One day, one of them is going to be bigger than these guys because they'll corner the market in whatever that side of things is. So,
well, also like Jeremy Hambley has never made a single goddamn thing that an AI couldn't. So you know that he's feeling the pressure here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, I mean, let's be honest, an AI could outperform him. There's definitely a lot of these guys where AI could outperform them, and that's fucking sad.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think we're too far away from basically their jobs becoming entirely redundant because they just always repeat the same things. I mean, they are practically AI at this point. I mean, they're lazy, and their content shows that. And it's not going to take a lot to get ChatGPT to write a script even better than the ones that we were getting it to write for Critical Drinker.
It's pretty easy to get it to write a pretty good Critical Drinker script, which a little disturbing.
Yeah, the quartering is a big piece of shit, man, and I don't even really want to watch Ethan any more than that because he made the point that I appreciate him making.
Contrasting those clips, the young Ethan Van Sciver is like cocaine Ethan, and the old Ethan Van Sciver is like weed Ethan.
Well,
like one of these guys is way more relaxed. You couldn't even tell they're the same person.
The young grifter Ethan. Now, if we go back a little bit further, some interesting things reveal themselves as well. I don't know if you saw this, Bob. Whenever I looked at these on a stream a while back, but so I have clips of him, literally just before he was no longer a professional comic book artist. He's just debunking Comicsgate before Comicsgate even existed. He's saying so people are accusing or saying that, oh, can you you're working for one tour response while driving is pretty interesting, as well as just noticing that his way of speaking is not nearly what it becomes yet. Let me find it real quick. Go.
Another discussion on Twitter about, why don't more Republicans work in comics? And is it because they're blacklisted? Is it because nobody will hire them? Is it, and those that are like, could you be an established Republican and then find work in comics? Or like, people have a really weird idea about how this industry works. There isn't some Illuminati, some secret cabal that runs things. There are bad actors, and I think it's been encouraging to see some of those bad actors kind of get shown the door.
So here we have him saying, no, there's not a whisper network of SJWs that are seeking to purge all of the conservatives out of comics, but also cancel culture is great.
Yeah.
Recently, but for the most part, there's no conspiracy. Yes, you can be an out Republican, you could be an out conservative, and work in comics. You can. I'm living proof of it.
Until you start.
Is he driving?
Until you start literally telling people on Facebook to kill themselves because they criticize you for voting for Trump. That's what really got his contract not renewed, which he confirmed for me whenever we spoke a while back. I was like, did you actually get fired, or was your contract not renewed? And yeah, his contract was not renewed. So there's kind of that same thing with Gina Carano, where it's like this entitlement of like, you signed a contract, that it had limitations on it. Why do you feel entitled to get another one? By the way, how's her lawsuit doing? Remember Musk was going to hire some attorneys?
Yeah.
How's that going?
To my understanding, they destroyed Disney, didn't they? And Disney's no longer woke.
Yep.
So they're no longer making content on Disney, I'm sure.
Right. It's now called Disney Minus, and it has nothing on it.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know if. Do we want to talk about any more of this, or because there's that other video that I posted, this like Looney Tunes town, just straight up fake narratives being pushed, and then wow. Did you see that? Anybody?
I did not see that. No.
No. Okay. So there was a video I came across. I hate to promote any kind of channel that isn't something we already talk about, but look, guys, this is the natural end result of this kind of grifter content that we cover is. It's going to get lazier. It's going to get shittier. It's going to get less honest. It's going to get more just straight up, rooted in falsehoods. And yeah, that's just the way it's going to go until the algorithm is changed, which I don't see any reason why they would do that. YouTube makes way too much money with this shit. But so there's this channel called Woke Watch. That tells you a little bit right there, I think.
Yeah.
Let me pull this up here. And so the name of this video is Ironheart Series Collapses. Bob Iger forces mass firings as Dominic Thorne faces backlash. Okay.
The fuck?
When did any of that happen?
Over Ironheart? What?
So we're not going to watch the video or anything just because, like, fuck them. But here you can see the captions. What's the guy saying? I don't want to reset it to have the audio, so just Disney's Ironheart's a disaster. Bob Iger panics. Kevin Feige backstabbed, and Marvel employees fired in massive purge. Test audiences are calling it the worst Marvel show ever made. Critics are walking out. Walking out of what? Their homes? You know what I mean? Like, this might be AI generated. I would not be surprised. But then the comments, man. This is next level chud brain. These just for the people that like basically nerdrotic. Is like, oh, you do nerdrotic. I'm into fucking the black tar heroin version of nerdrotic, right? As in like you smoke weed. I'm into heroin. Disney never learns. But you know what? Let me just pull up the screenshot of this comment that I found because holy shit, man, this is nuts. Here we go. So this is a comment under there. In order to stop this madness, we the people, aka the parents, the fans, the hardworking people, the 99.8%, the common sense people, have to challenge not only Bob Iger and his thralls, but also the source of funding for all this insanity. The main source of funding comes from the top 3 institutes' shareholders being Vanguard Group, BlackRock, and State Street. And the top 3 people shareholders being Bob Iger, spelled differently than before, Christine McCarthy, and Kevin A. Lansbury. These 3 people are tied to the company, so continuing to not buy Disney trash or even go to the parks hurts them. But the institutes are the main problem due to what looks like to be financial companies like banking. We have a challenging opponent, my friends.
Oh my God, this is conspiracy brain shit.
Pretty sure this is just like pointing to the JQ, if you just kind of extrapolate for a half second. But 99.8% of people that reject this woke trash, and yet you still, it's still a challenging opponent. And what would incentivize these companies to pump money into these studios to make woke content if literally everything is going broke and fails?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got any answers for that? No?
Well, I can only assume that whoever this Vanguard Group, BlackRock, and State Street are, they must be some kind of hippie communists who have no interest in financially benefiting.
Anti-capitalist for sure, right?
Well,
Famous
yeah,
radical
very.
leftist Bob Iger. Christ.
Let's see. So we have covered BlackRock before. We haven't covered Vanguard Group or anything like that. So let me look those up real quick. I mean,
they're all basically the same.
I mean, I know.
They just tell people.
I just want to mention about this comment. It says the top 3 institutes shareholders and the top 3 people shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? This is crack pipe politics. This is gas leak politics.
Yeah,
what are you
literally
talking about?
The line, what looks to be financial companies like banking, reveals exactly that this guy has no fucking clue what he's saying. He just knows some words generally.
I mean, the BlackRock stuff, I remember everybody was talking about
Financial
BlackRock when
companies
ESG
like
was
banking,
the big thing.
banking the company.
Yeah, and we already went over the ESG crap, and it's just, hey, they essentially, you could, ESG allows you to invest in companies that support certain environmental policies or diversity policies and stuff like that. And that's all it fucking is.
Well, so I actually have a clip from
Mm-hmm.
I uploaded yesterday the clip of us comparing Chud comments about Ironheart. But from within that, I clipped out for separately. It's a shorter clip that I'll upload where we look at a Heel versus Babyface's channel for a moment. And he has a video where he literally says, in the title, it says ESG/DEI, as if those two things are the same.
I mean, I do notice that, like, DEI, and they always change that to didn't earn it. And then, like, their big thing on Ironheart is how she doesn't earn her place. And it's like, yeah, I can't help but notice those are the same.
Maybe if you watch the show and don't say this before the show comes out, maybe you might be proven wrong. I don't know. But yeah, like DEI and ESG are not the same thing. Only one of those letters in ESG kind of roughly is relatable to DEI. But yeah, they don't.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this thing, but like ESG has an E in it, and DEI has an E in it.
Yep, same thing too. Same words. Yeah. I mean, I know those letters.
Sure.
Have you ever thought that Nerdrotic has D, E, and I in it?
Oh shit! Woke.
We're through the looking glass here, people.
Oh God.
So does Critical Drinker. Oh my God. So does Geeks and Gamers. Maybe
It would
no,
be
not really.
funny to do like
We tell people it does. They'll believe us.
Yes.
To do like a parody video, like if you started like a parody channel meant to make fun of these people, and you like uploaded content to it, and you just made one of the titles like DEI CRT ESG, and then you just threw in like MSG in there or something, just because like most of them would go along with it. They'd be like, "Well, I haven't heard about this one."
They have no idea.
Like, that would be scary for me to see that. If somebody's like, "Oh, there's MSG in this," oh God, I will literally throw up if I eat that.
Wait until these people find out about the Better Business Bureau.
What tastes better, MSG or DEI?
Tricky.
I like to sprinkle some DEI into my Doritos. It's just try it out, something different.
So yeah, I just wanted to show this to kind of like say that if you're somebody that watches this content, these guys, and maybe you happen to be watching us now, maybe you watch this regularly. I don't know. If you're already into that content, the nerdrotic content, please don't let yourself go this far. This is just, I mean, you're already too far, man. But like, this is fucking Looney Tunes. Hate to insult anybody that has any mental health issues or anything, but like, this is not just a mental health issue. This is like someone has programmed you in the worst ways possible, if you believe this shit. But yeah, this is obviously also JQ stuff. Because like, what incentive does anybody have? It doesn't make any sense, man, to fucking pump money. What is it? What do these companies get out of that? Right? They're turning everybody trans or something. How do they win? How does that benefit them?
Unironically, like I talk about this in one of my videos. I made that video like, damn, almost a year ago now. This autumn it'll be a year ago. But it's the Veilguard wokeness thing. I have a section in there about the critical drinker and how like you mentioned earlier, like a lot of this is like JQ adjacent stuff. It's totally like that. It's the whole thing is like elites, air quotes elites, are making everything woke, and they're turning the kids trans, and everybody's going to be black and gay, and all the immigrants are going to be here. And like the only implication that you can get from that is that there's like a wealthy cabal of people who are trying to destroy like white dominated Western society. Is the only implication. It's literally just Nazi stuff. But they're not saying the conclusion that it leads to. But that's what it is. It's kind of like how like there's all of these right-wing mass shooters because right-wing pundits are always telling people that they're under attack. If it's like they're attacking you, they're attacking you, they're attacking you, then you're gonna see like a mosque with like innocent people in it as a threat when they're not. It would be one thing if there was a literal invasion. Like if I don't know, like Canada invaded the U.S. It's funny to say, but like if there was
the thing
a
that
war,
they're missing, the thing that they're missing that allows what they're missing that allows them to fully believe that this is their reality is how the algorithms operate. It's just it's simple as that. Like, I mean, obviously there's a lot of, environmental factors and how they're raised and whatnot that go into it. But at the same time, like if you don't understand that these social media algorithms feed you based on what you're already looking at and what you react to, then you are lost. Like you are fucked, basically. I did a video on that in 2020 as a half Westworld season 3 review, but it was really just an excuse to talk about this and how, these algorithms are programming people in some pretty shitty way. Look, we're all subject to it to some degree or another. Like, even if you're aware of it, you're, still going to be getting content that is, you wouldn't be seeing just in, this is not an organic situation. It's not just they don't recognize their own subjectivity in the first place. Then there's the algorithm's subjectivity, which is based on their own subjectivity. So yeah. And when you think that your morality or how you view media or whatever is objective, that's a fucking problem. You're now like a dangerous human being, in my opinion, if that's how you see things.
It's also the cognitive dissonance, though. I mean, these guys raging against Disney as being the big evil monster, this multi-billion-dollar corporation. And yet they're all cheerleading Trump, who was just given a tax cut to companies like Disney.
Yes.
Trump has just put money in Disney's pocket.
Yep.
Maybe more money than any film that they've released this year has done.
I think we should all make sure to try and repeat that whenever possible. Now that you mention it, that's a really good point. Yeah, holy shit. So yeah, anyway, I did have another video on Ironheart that would be kind of another angle to take on this, but I might save it for Friday. I don't know. It's by someone called Jay Longbone. You might know who that is?
I'm aware of them. Yeah,
familiar. Yeah. The name's familiar, at least.
It's an interesting angle because she, which I didn't know this until I started watching the video, which was titled "Weird and Shit." Is she's a black woman herself. So yeah, coming at it from that angle and being just as critical, if not more so, than Nerdrotic or Critical Drinker about what's in the show. and also lying about it, is an interesting angle that I would like to explore. So
She's I don't know if she still is, but she was a regular EFAPper. She's one of the ones on the Condra video who didn't believe that the Mayans could build stuff underwater.
Oh God!
Just so much to break down with that critique.
And the other thing, I'm pretty sure this was Riverboat Jack covered this, but Shea diversity is getting more and more insane as well. That's another thing.
I've heard that.
I saw that. Yeah.
I think he did a video about how YouTube is ruining his life by not pushing his channel in the algorithm. It's like, well done, buddy. You just realized that YouTube don't care about you. They care about people viewing. They don't care what people view as long as people view.
When I was responding to him a lot, he made a video like this maybe 2 years ago now. And the content of the video was very similar. So first of all, Shad doesn't understand anything. And I mean anything. And it's because his like thesis for teaching people things is that he thinks he doesn't have to learn. So he just hears things and makes assumptions and passes them on. That's a lot of what his content has always been. But obviously, you know, hearing him talk about politics, it's very clear. But also like just, you know, on like the web design aspect of it, when he talks about impressions in that video, and if I would totally recommend that Riverboat Jack video. It's called something like Shadiversity doesn't understand why people don't want to watch him or whatever. It's a recent upload, but that in that video, Shad is like very clear that he thinks like the way that impressions work is it's like people being shown your content and it's a thing YouTube gives you, and like YouTube just arbitrates how many people your video is shown to, and that's like so not true. First of all, the algorithm is like a black box. Obviously the people at YouTube can do things to affect it, and they have, and that's actually, there's been a recent change in how people's content gets promoted, and I think it has a lot to do with stuff that's older being prioritized, and a ton of it, like influx of AI stuff that's just ruining this platform. But anyway, like they need to get rid of that. And Shad is sitting there, and I don't know how to say this without being genuinely offensive, because there's no like word for this. But you know, in the same like mental health context, like people use euphemisms for this stuff a lot, like crazy, or sometimes more specifically like bipolar or schizophrenic. When you hear, and as someone with bipolar, like I know what people mean when they say that, but like when somebody is talking and they like jump on a bunch of tangents, which I do, of course, but then they like do tangents where they contradict themselves, and then they go back on the point and they contradict the original point. That's how Shad talks. He's like three guys arguing with each other in a skin suit. It's really crazy if you actually, because I've had to, when responding to him, I've had to transcribe typing back things he says. So I go to the video, play a little bit, write it down, go to the video, play a little bit, write it down. So I'm like hand copying his own words and reading them back to myself and going, this is nonsense. This is like if you play a video game and the developers like, you know, put an asylum level in it and there's like writing on the walls. That's Shad. He's genuinely out of his mind. I don't know why they invite him on these panels like Friday Night Tights either. Well, because he will accidentally argue with them, but he thinks he's agreeing.
Well, I mean, I will say, like, I think Shad is doing it genuinely because I think he's kind of insane. But like, if you look at a lot of their content, Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, contradict themselves so fucking much. I think Shad just stumbles into that type of thing accidentally.
Well, I think what Chariot's saying is he'll do it within the same essential conversation, where it's like, yeah, these guys will contradict their own videos
within a sentence,
or whatever.
In a single sentence. He does it in that video. He says something like, "Oh, and all of this is being brought on by the." I think it's AI that he brings up. It's some type of content that he brings up. He's like,
his take
"Oh,
on
and
that
all
is
this stuff
brilliant.
is being brought on by AI." Sorry, say again.
His take on AI is brilliant. He is furiously and vehemently opposed to AI slop taking over YouTube, which eventually it will. If AI is allowed to continue the way it is, every video on YouTube is going to be AI.
We're
And
in the
he's-
final days of YouTube being decent. We're I guess
and
sorry,
he's vehemently against that, and he's right to be, because it will. Everybody on YouTube is replaceable with AI. I mean, that's the truth of it, because it's all about. It doesn't matter how good your content is if people don't watch it. But then he says, "Oh no, but like because he loves AI as well, he's not
Right.
talking about the AI that he does. He's talking about the stuff that's mass produced." And it's like, well, yeah, but that's why fast food is popular.
Well, that's what I've made fun of him
and
before for being
in a
the guy
single
that literally says, I've got a clip of him going, embrace tradition. And then I'm like, but okay, but also do AI art as well. You know, it's just he's a
Right. Well,
bag of
I have to stress, it's like one sentence where he says like, oh, and all this is being absolutely destroyed by the people who are uploading all of this AI content, which I support. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? It reads
it's the
like a
problem of-
suicide note. He's
like the
out of
problem
his
of like
mind.
being a fucking, you know, a proponent of capitalism, but also literally facing the fucking consequences of not being good at it or being lucky enough at it, right? So like he's at the same time he's holding both of these thoughts that like capitalism is fucking me, but also I support capitalism's right to do whatever the fuck it wants. Like
Shad,
Well,
if you go to his
okay.
Night's Watch channel, I think it's still there. He has a video and it's called like a message for young men or something like that. It is, and I'm genuinely saying, like, I'm not exaggerating. I really believe this. It's probably the most disgusting video on the issue of men's mental health on the entire platform. Number one, beyond anything. If a feminist filmed herself literally advocating to kill all men, it would be less disgusting than that video, because the whole video is like, sorry, I'm gonna do. Yeah, okay. Men feel all right that they need to live up to a standard, okay, and then also I'm gonna argue in this same video that that's why they feel so bad, but also that the standard is good and they should be living up to it. And it's like, it's this dude. I don't know how else to say it. I call him crazy because it makes me feel crazy to sit there and hear a man, like a grown man, sit there and just meander through a serious conversation. He does this with every topic, like men's mental health, you know, like immigration, the Holocaust, literally anything.
You know what I wonder just struck me as so funny though, because it is literally like when the big record companies who had put out of business all the independent record chains started complaining that people were buying stuff online. And it's like, yeah, that's capitalism. That's what you signed up for when you put all these other businesses out of business when you were the top. Now there's a bigger fish. So all this AI, if it puts Shad out of business, then for making his awful content, then maybe it's not so bad. Saying that AI is awful and nobody should support it. Oh, that reminds me as well of another thing I saw. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched anything by JJ McCulloch, the Canadian guy, but he's an AI supporter in exactly the same territory as Shad. He's used it in his videos in the same way that Shad does. He argues that, oh no, it doesn't count if you're taking the time to improve the prompts. I know all AI is bad.
I agree. I'm hardcore on that.
So I'm sorry I missed a super chat. I'm not sure whose channel it's on, but a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I'm not sure who, but yeah.
StreamYard, get on that, man. Let us know what channel's fucking okay. Anyway, so Jack says, do you think people are starting to wake up and see the anti-woke crowd for the worthless losers that they are and calling them out? So I saved this because he asked this, maybe still here, while we were still talking about this political, you know, specific politics stuff. And I thought that was interesting because, like, honestly, these things are inextricably linked, the two conversations. And if that's happening, then there is also going to be, you know, sea change taking place politically, because they're just connected, right? Like, so I mean, thinking about it in terms of just YouTube grift and people waking up to it, it's like people have to start waking up to. We live in a griftopia now. Like, the capitalism has become something new, or I mean, it's like a fucking mutated form of capitalism now, where it's like grifting is just the way to go, man. Like, what you look in any industry, any kind of media, any kind of service or whatever it is, grifting is fucking doing great. You go over onto I guess TikTok or whatever, there's these singers that generally seem like they probably sing really well naturally and whatever, but they weren't seeing enough success with that content, so they're now doing this very recorded, polished, edited recordings, and then pretending like they're singing it live, like in some garage or something like that. And then the people that just, oh, that sounds amazing, you're so great, you guys do this, like it's a grift in the same way that other shit's a grift. And it's just, there's no fucking leash on this shit right now. And
it's also fashions change, trends change. The trend for their content will eventually change. So it's not just any one thing, but I think a lot of people are waking up to it, because if you've been told that everything is awful in the fictional world of media, and then you look out your window and everything is awful in the real world, then you just fall into despair. Most people don't want that, so they retreat. They retreat to fun action movies, and they start looking past what they've been conditioned to believe about them.
And what I considered the other day that I hadn't really thought about before is that, so it's not just that they started noticing, it's definitely not just that movies started having political or social messages in them for the first time ever. That's not the case. But part of it, I think, is that you started seeing YouTubers pop up with video essays analyzing media in a way that a lot of people would never have considered that media that way. There's a lot of people that just want to, literally fucking stare at a screen for a couple hours and watch the blasters go pew pew, and yay, that was fun. But then you have these woke leftists and these SJWs saying, well, if you analyze it from this perspective, then blah 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 blah, and patriarchy and capitalism, and they're like, what? What? No.
Yeah.
And yeah, there is a lot of shit wrong with the world, obviously. That was before Trump, but this is kind of
yeah.
Part of the problem. You have these people
Well,
pointing.
that's also kind of an interesting overlap, right?
Yeah. Sorry. What's the overlap?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that the overlap there. Well, because a lot of people, and at times they've pivoted away from this, but especially when it was like the original Gamergate, there was a lot of rhetoric that was like anti-elite, anti-academic, anti-expertise kind of coded. You still see this occasionally, but it's I think because now people like YouTubers who make essays that is literally, it's just 6 hours of them rambling, these are the experts of their world now, so now the rhetoric has to adjust a little bit. But you used to kind of hear this, and I think part of it's that, like, when you're trained to think about media, when you're taught how to do that, you will adopt certain behaviors and certain ways of thinking that are not a part of this shared media ecosystem commonplace that we have in our culture. So, if a bunch of those people then go out and make commentaries on that stuff that is accessible directly next to the other stuff, where the critique is now juxtaposed with the thing itself, then people kind of start feeling like there's an imposition, like something is being kind of presented that wasn't there before. When the reality of the situation is, like, people have been writing like that for a really long time, and even, more so. But people saw like one Anita Sarkeesian, and one was kind of too many for some people.
Mm-hmm. Big Field. I apologize. I have not seen the rest of the show yet. I didn't even know for sure that was the character that, but now I do.
I was fairly confident watching the first 3 episodes. I thought there was hints that obviously it was leading to that. I have not seen it either, but I mean, I think Sacha Baron Cohen's a pretty talented guy. I'm imagining he does a good job.
I think it's a good opportunity, at least. Whether or not he nails it, we'll see. But it's a good opportunity.
I have seen it, and I was kind of surprised because of the type of roles he takes. That he took.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that he would take it as well. But yeah.
And that's how I felt when it was first sort of rumored, or even, I don't know if it was officially announced, but it's been rumored for a few years now, because obviously the show has been in production a few years, so it had been rumored. He knocks it out of the park, and it's a joy to watch. and I feel like maybe 20 years ago, it's the kind of role that Peter Stormare would have got, and the kind of role he did have in Constantine. It's that kind of role. But yeah, it's. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a great performance.
So I looked through those comments into that Woke Watch video again, and just almost to make our point. I got a couple of comments to look at here. How do they keep making consecutive worst Marvel shows ever? Indeed.
Yes,
it's almost as if
Whoa.
you've been told that consecutively. And yeah, it's crazy. So then there's this is just fucking hilarious. And the bad thing is, did they do it in the comics also? Every time I turn around, there's another character is smarter than Reese Richards. Well, I can't fucking make somebody smarter than Reese Richards. What are you doing, Marvel? Dr. Doom and Iron Man, these people have no PhD or master's or education, but they are somehow smarter than those guys. Why? Because they're a new character. I'm like, Marvel, stop doing that, which is not something that happens. For one thing, there is no character named Reese Richards. It's not somebody that exists. There's a bunch of Reed Richards. The Council of Reeds, what's with the Council of Ricks is based on. No Reese's. But also, Riri she's going to MIT. She's literally in MIT.
The Council of Reeds thing kind of completely demolishes his own argument. They didn't just have one Reed Richards; they had a council of them. That's a good question, actually. That I don't know that you might be able to help. Is Doctor Doom an actual doctor? Has he got like a PhD?
I believe so, but I can look into it, but I'm pretty sure that he is. Yeah,
pretty sure it's also just a supervillain name.
Well, he also I would think that because he is the ruler of Latveria, that if he wanted to, he could just create a doctorate within the context of his own nation and have that.
Yeah, but if it's an honorary doctorate from Latveria University, I'm calling bullshit.
So real quick, I stepped out for a moment. Have we talked about the most brilliant character in comic book history, Reese Richards?
Reese Richards is amazing. He's honestly his power is that he can he can stretch his legs a little bit, like kind of stretch them, and he feels a little better after he does that.
Which is amazing considering he's entirely made of chocolate and peanut butter.
To my understanding, in distress, he can mildly dislocate his thumb, so it's a little bit longer.
Oh, wait, here's another look. Look, it's really bad when they don't look at social media or listen to this people who speak on social media that said this movie is garbage and stop making it. It's not a movie, it's a show. I guess we have to make them go complete. Like, they literally think that, oh, everybody around me is saying the thing that I think, so everybody thinks that.
Yes.
Nuts. It's fucking nutballs. This is not a society that can continue to fucking exist in this way. Sorry.
People on social media told you not to do it, and you did it anyway.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
And then I kind of wanted to point out this comment just because this is something I've actually never spoken about before. I actually don't have too much to say about this, but this potential Star Wars theory Matt Walsh debate. I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't see a scenario where fucking Star Wars theory isn't just completely destroyed by Matt Walsh. And that's not me like saying I like Matt Walsh more than Star Wars theory. They're both garbage, and I do think fairly objectively Matt Walsh is a much worse voice. But if they do a debate on Star Wars, the second they're going to walk in there, like essentially Matt Walsh is going to say it's woke garbage, and Star Wars series is going to be like, well, the newer stuff is, and at that point it's over.
That too.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh has to treat Star Wars theory with kid gloves.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think just to bring the audience up to speed, if they missed this, Star Wars Theory was going to debate Matt Walsh a couple of weeks ago, but it was cancelled. Theory thinks that he can explain the virtues of the pre-Disney Star Wars and go into the lore in so much depth that Matt Walsh will truly come around to the idea that it's not just a silly space lasers film for kids. Matt Walsh cancelled, and he probably won't honour the interview or the debate or whatever you want to call it, because it's out of the news cycle now that Andor's finished.
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Yeah,
basically
I
it's a
just kind of feel like if they actually had a sincere debate where they went head to head, Matt Walsh would just look into the camera and be like, "You're an adult who collects toys."
That's it. Yep, that's his whole.
He would just
goal.
stop it right there.
You got to remember, this guy's shit on video games, just the entire medium of video games, anime. Like, talk about not realize. I don't know if he realizes that part of his audience is the people that base their lives on those things, but I don't know.
But from a purely optics point of view, his entire brand is that he is a proud heterosexual adult male who put away childish things when he stopped being a child, and everybody else should do that as well. Get married, have kids, Christian white kids, and that's how life should be. That's his prescription. So nothing Star Wars Theory says is going to get through that, because that's his ideological brand.
So, well, I mean, he defeated the Emperor.
Yeah.
Come on, he's a hero, right?
Sure.
He's an anti-natalist king.
So, you guys, you know how we were all like, man, we wokies, we can't wait for Megan too, because she's the next girl boss. And yeah, 32,000 views.
She's not a girl boss, she's a robot.
And then when did Ironheart drop? Was it 12 days ago? I feel like it hasn't been that long.
No,
it was 7 days ago.
Interesting. Disparu. Interesting. I mean, I guess he maybe got an advanced copy or something like that, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he traded his.
I remember Critical Drinker released his She-Hulk video a day early, and I remember when I first went to respond to it, I assumed he got some sort of early video, because not that they would really want to support him, but because he's such a big YouTuber that he probably gets access to early stuff. I've gotten access to early stuff before. But no, not even that. It was a video of him responding to fucking clips. It was just like, oh, fuck.
Which we covered in our video that we did about him when he did that with the Marvels, and he did that with, Ms. Marvel. He did it with She-Hulk, and then turned out to be wrong about those things as well.
Yes.
I want to point out that
speculation videos are atrocious.
Anthony Gramuglia has a almost 1 hour video from 12 days ago, where I'm willing to bet he doesn't make a claim on the quality of the show in that. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't think he does.
I've watched the video. It's not about the show at all. It's about the comic book character. So
it's called "No One Hates Ironheart for the Right Reasons," which is kind of compelling, but I don't know. I don't want to disagree with him. So I kind of watched it.
It's a clickbait title, but he talks about the comic, the character in the comics, and how the character had been mistreated by various different authors. But yeah, it's nothing grifty. And he did, I think he did a live stream last night about the grifters videos. And poor boy sat through Jester Bell.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eric also described it as a disaster.
Showing how literally you can see the moments that she said, you know what, I'm going to do a grift on her channel because it wasn't doing so well.
Well, that's funny, and Anthony points out that in an early sentence about it, she says that this is a terrible show that I really didn't want to watch, and he's like, well, you didn't have to watch it, but the reason you watched it was this your best performing video in weeks?
Yeah, I mean that's going back to the algorithm thing. If you watch these guys' content, Jesterville, whoever it is, why do you think that they keep talking about these things that they know they're not going to like? It's because of the algorithm, because that's they're grifting, man. But yeah, so he is linked. Anthony is linked below in the description, as well as everybody on stream right now, as well as many other people. I tell you, who's not linked below. Holy shit! I didn't know Little Platoon was putting up numbers like this. 261,000 views from 3 days ago for Ironheart, Iconic and Evil.
I know he's a pretty big EFAP regular at this point.
I had no idea.
He is just Mahler Part 2. They just made a second one.
Yeah, it's long-winded garbage. And
so the thumbnail says Iron Shark.
He's kind of the most bad faith reviewer I've seen in a while. Sorry, Dan. I think
no, it's okay.
I just remember
we covered him on a stream before, me and Morgan at one point, and it was like, what was he looking at? clips of
It was the Godzilla thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it was that. Yes. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something so. I think he suggested that slavery wasn't real or something like that, or that it was a good thing. I forget exactly.
He compared the destruction caused because Godzilla and Kong are like fighting or whatever.
Yes.
He's comparing the destruction caused to the movement to take down neo-Confederate statues in the United States, which I don't know why the fuck he cares. Like,
Weird.
bro, you're not here. But like, whatever. It's just
I'd never heard of a little
thing
before.
He made a very forced Black Lives Matter thing.
That's what it was, yeah. If you don't know what a little platoon is, it is an interesting concept to learn about, and it is essentially at the root of conservative thought.
I assumed it meant he had a tiny penis, and he referred to it as his little platoon.
You're right. That is exactly what it is.
This is the conservatism philosophy angle. I think this is why you guys keep me around, right? Because I remember talking to you guys about the Burke reference and how like the idea of the little platoons of societies, like they're supposed to be like the centers for moral guidance in people's lives. And that's how you like acculturate a society of people to conservative values. So like the little platoons, like churches, basically, small scale organizations.
Community is good, but
you
it's
can
about
orient people's values.
Isn't it like a specifically structured hierarchy of community? Isn't that what it means?
Well, they're supposed to be institutions that are conservative. Yeah.
Okay.
You sure that his little platoon is his moral compass? His tiny little platoon.
Does the algorithm reward positive reviewers like everything great about? I'm not sure what the second part of that question means.
The channel that is the opposite of Cinema Sins, I think.
Cinema wins.
Cinema wins, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're not saying that being negative is the only way to be successful on YouTube. It's just the easiest way.
It doesn't reward positive reviews as much. If you search for any film or TV show on YouTube, it'll be there, but it'll be swamped by negative content.
In general, it does not reward.
The conventional wisdom is that
content.
It's what?
Yeah. The conventional wisdom is that the thing it actually rewards is certain types of titles. So like a 5-word title that uses a lot of what do they call them? Like words that are very hyperbolic. There's a word for this in SEO practices that I'm missing right now. Can't remember it. But that's why you see so many videos that are like Fortnite is an overrated disaster or whatever, or it's they do this fence sitter thing where it's like it's an overrated masterpiece or whatever. Like masterpiece and overrated, those are like key terms that evoke strong emotions.
It's like this. It's so let's look at Facebook as an example, as a kind of separate thing. So when they instituted the because it used to just be likes or dislikes on Facebook posts, right? Then it became they added the little emoticon reactions or whatever, where it's like you have smile, laugh, angry, whatever it is, cry. So essentially, the content that is rewarded the most by the algorithm is content that causes you to engage with it. It's not even necessarily that's what you see; it's that you engage. As in, engagement means because I didn't really fully understand this until I started making YouTube videos. To be honest, that you interact with it, because what it all wants you to do is look at advertisements. So if you're on the platform, it wants you to stay on the platform, and it wants you to continue looking at the advertisements that companies pay them to put on the platform. So if you're scrolling through Facebook, for example, you're going to see a bunch of ads. And what keeps people they don't just want you to see it, though. They want you to click on the ads. They want you to be engaged with what's being said. And the way to get the human brain engaged, the easiest way to do that is to trigger an outrage response, a sensationalist kind of like a moral righteous kind of feeling, like somebody gets offended or they're angry or oh, I can't believe this. That's way more likely to get somebody who's not being mindful of what's happening to engage with that post than just even a positive thing like, hey, this is great. Here's some good news. Oh, that is good news. That you're less likely to hit like or smiley face or anything in general. And so, yeah. If that makes sense. tired and hungry, so I don't know if I said that very well, but
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. I mean, examples of this is like, how I can't believe they did this, question mark, or how did they get away with this, question mark, things like that make you click on it, because you'll notice the ad always plays first before the video. And when you watch the video and it's bullshit, you click off it, but you've already seen the ad. So
a good
YouTube's
example
got
of
a-
like, you know, how my personal experience is that, you know, I started my channel to do the content essentially that I still do, but there was a period in 2022 where I said, you know what, I don't want to do this shit anymore because it was not doing me well. I had a bad perspective on it at the time. But so I stopped talking about Chuds completely. I stopped talking about all the shit they say for about 3 months or so. I did a couple of videos that I'm still pretty proud of, like R-rated toys and cartoons based on R-rated properties and stuff. Those are fun videos to do. But they struggled to see any kind of, you know, views or anything, even though I put way more work into those and they were really fun. And I think honestly, they probably have more value nowadays than the Chud content that I was doing back then. But it just didn't do as well. And it becomes frustrating. And it's easy to see how grifters become grifters, because if you have, you know, you don't have strong principles, or you don't really give a shit about anything except I just need to make money. And then you identify that the algorithm is rewarding you for saying these negative things about these particular people or whatever, or this type of ideology or politics, whatever it is, you're going to, you know, you're far more likely to just do that and continue doing that and to double down on it and triple down on it. And then the more cynical ones will put out several videos a day in some cases about the same fucking topic, just worded differently, but it's all, you know, outrageous and, you know, conflict driven and, you know, yeah. Just look at any channel's videos and just like go through their video archive and just kind of take note of what kind of video it is, right? Anyway.
Yeah, and I think like your R-rated cartoons video, it's a great video, but I bet you would have got further if you'd been a little more dishonest and said, I can't believe they got away with this. If that was just the title, I can't believe they did something like that, something literally completely sort of sensationalist. You probably
And if
would
I
have got
thought
more
about it, I would have, but like I don't fucking, I have to like over 5 years, I'm now kind of can have trained myself to think of a way to phrase my videos in a way that, you know, kind of appeals to that, but it still doesn't come naturally to me the way these fucking grifters do.
No, and unfortunately, I'm the same. I'm far too honest. My videos are literally just the show I'm reviewing and the episode name, which only appeals to people looking for that specific thing.
That's fucking integrity, to be honest. Like the fact that you are just still dedicated to, I'm going to review what I want to review. I'm going to be sincere and honest about it. You know, I sometimes feel a twinge of guilt that I have to kind of be sensationalist, but at the same time, I'm weaponizing the shit that they use and trying to use it back at them, and I'm okay with it. So I sleep all right.
And that's not why I run my channel. I run my channel for me. I do things for me, and so there's no pressure there. But there's also less gains, and that's fine.
Well,
I
stop
just wanna
talking about you.
engage.
Hippoclipped has dropped a couple of videos in the last few days, and we're gonna watch those.
Oh, the mysterious Hippoclipped? Man, they're
Mysterious
awesome.
Clip is bestowed upon us.
Oh,
some
I've
stuff.
actually got to head out at this
All right,
juncture.
yeah, me too. Actually, yeah,
I got to go eat dinner before I stream
We're
tonight.
gonna
I
watch these
figure-
on the way out the door then. So
I figure we're wrapping up pretty soon. I have
Yep.
a little
Yeah,
pitch
you
at the
can
end, but
play
let's
them
do
on the way
Hippoclipped
out.
and then.
sounds good.
Oh.
Well, here's.
Oh,
sorry. Do you want to say anything, Chariot? Promote your channel or anything?
Oh yeah,
Anybody?
new videos. This Friday is probably when I'll have it done. So yeah, this Friday, next Friday, and the Friday after that, I've got a 3-part Star Wars series where I criticize the Star Wars sequels, a thing nobody's ever done before. So
right,
what
should be good. But this
and
was
then
fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
And
anytime.
real quick,
Literally.
for me, I will be live tomorrow. Got polls up for what DC book to cover tomorrow. So whatever, after I read the other 3 comic books I'm going to cover tomorrow, whatever one's winning at that point this night, that will be the book I cover. Right now it's Absolute Wonder Woman, but plenty of time to get votes in. And then also in the podcast channel, Bobby is dedicated to take me down the Snyderverse of movies, watching Rob Snyder movies. I am looking forward to it, not dreading it. What was I thinking? But yeah, go ahead to the podcast page and vote for those. But yeah, that
do it.
And then
Do it.
I should have new video soon. I have a video almost, and I'm just getting a clip from Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man for it. And then I'll probably have a chance to do some more editing on Fridays. Hopefully, I get some more videos out. So yeah, that's upcoming on Organized Chaos.
Who's next? Me, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan or you, Ryan or.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, check out my channel if you like 70s TV shows. I'm trying to do more stuff, but life gets in the way. So at the moment, I'm just digging the Rockford Files.
And yeah, I will be streaming on Friday unless I decide to fully commit to switching to Saturdays. But you know what? I'll probably do Friday and then announce if I decide I'm going to do that. So yeah, look for a Friday night stream. As per usual, I will cover some stuff that I had maybe to talk about today, but we didn't get a chance to, and that's okay. Like Mark Maron calling out the fascism problem in stand-up comedy. Glad he's doing that.
Yay.
And then whatever else happens to pop up between now and then. I want to look at some more Dwayne McDuffie clips just because, holy shit. I did not know of the guy or really appreciate him while he was around. And, looking back at it, it's like, holy shit, what a loss, man. Like, I'd love to hear what he had to say about what I have to say about things going on today. So, yeah, on that note, be sure to subscribe to whatever channel you're watching on, and then go over to the other channels that are also streaming this. Subscribe to those, because speaking of algorithms, engaging with this content is the way to fight back against that content. It's really that simple. And then if you can help, you can afford it, find a Patreon or whatever, somebody that's doing, good content, support them, or at least drop a comment and say, hey, appreciate that you guys are doing this, because they definitely appreciate it and the algorithm appreciates it. On that note, here is the mysterious. Yeah, that's a good point too. There's that. But I'm afraid to look at the news whenever I get off here, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So subscribe to Hippoclipped, who's also linked below. Don't know who this person is. Just a mysterious, godlike being. And peace.
Riri then tragically, falls to the ground and dies, splattered to death on the boulevards of Chicago after hitting that concrete at what I can only imagine was over 100 miles an hour.
Okay, I'll get you out of here. 3, 2, 1.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
All right, you are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated.